LoveLore Library. Chapter 443. Wu Cece said confidently, but the family did not look too good. The old lady had already stood up while rubbing her waist. She looked at Wu Cece with a face full of anger. Her son was even more furious. We don't want money. You don't want money. Thank you. Anyway, you have nothing to do now. We'll leave first. The boy beside Wu Cece immediately said. With that said, he turned around to leave. How could the uncle stand it when he saw that? He immediately stopped him. You can't leave. Originally, he did not want to argue with the child. After all, there were many people on the street. It was normal for accidents to happen. Besides, it was the new year. They did not want to bring bad luck to others, let alone students. However, the other party was too unreasonable. If something happened, they should apologize. However, the moment they arrived, they said that they were blackmailing them and even wanted to settle it privately. Did they lack that little bit of money? If they relied on blackmailing others to live, the old lady would fall sick even if she was not sick. Her lifespan would be shortened. When the uncle stopped them, Wu Cece and her classmate immediately revealed an expression of, I knew it. It was as if they had already guessed that this family was here for money. How much money do you want, uncle? Give us a straightforward answer. We are all poor students. We only have a little pocket money on us. We aren't locals. We've been out shopping all day and haven't eaten yet. The boy said. Uncle, we didn't do it on purpose. If Jing Yunzhao had not dodged, the ball wouldn't have hit you. If Jing Yunzhao doesn't take half of the responsibility, we won't take any responsibility either, Wu Cece said. When she said that, the family's expressions turned ugly. They clearly only wanted the two of them to apologize, but they actually kept chattering and thought that they wanted to take advantage of them. You two children are too unreasonable. You clearly hit someone. It's fine if you don't apologize, but why are you still mocking others? The uncle said angrily. Wu Cece was taken aback. She looked at the boy and immediately said, I'm sorry, okay? So you don't need to compensate me. That instantly made the uncle choke back his words. Forget it, forget it. It's impossible to reason with such an unreasonable person. The old lady shook her head and said. The old lady clutched her waist and looked uncomfortable. Jing Yunzhao glanced at her and walked up to her. He pressed a few acupuncture points on her waist and said, This should be more comfortable, right? It's true. Little girl, your technique is really good. I feel much more comfortable and warm. The old lady also felt that it was strange. Jing Yunzhao smiled. The old lady's problem was not serious. It was just that when she fell, her waist muscles and bones were affected. She did not suffer too much damage, so after massaging a few acupuncture points, she was almost healed. When you go back, ask uncle to massage the place that I massaged just now. After a few hours, it won't hurt anymore. The old lady nodded. Okay, I'll listen to you. They're all students, but why is there such a big difference? The old lady couldn't help but mutter. Hearing this, Wu Cece was unhappy. Old woman, what do you mean? Didn't we already say that we'll compensate you? You didn't want it, and we just apologized to you. Jing Yunzhao just went up and touched it for a while. What right do you have to compare her to me? Her voice scared the old lady again. The old lady trembled. Classmate, I'm not talking about you. She had never seen such a bad child. She didn't know how this family educated her. She looked like a good girl on the surface, but she had such a bad temper. Chapter 444. Jing Yunzhao also remembered Wu Cece's living environment. She grew up with her grandmother, who was said to be the most powerful old lady in the surrounding villages. The teachers in the school did not dare to provoke Wu Cece. Otherwise, the old lady would definitely come to cause trouble and scold other people's families. Jing Yunzhao had also seen the old lady in his previous life. She was very fierce, and when she spoke, she did not give others a chance to refute. Her voice was loud and full of energy. Under her influence, Wu Cece had almost learned the essence of it. No matter how much trouble Wu Cece caused in the past, no one dared to punish her. After all, the people in the town were very simple. Everyone had the attitude that they could not afford to offend the old lady and the child. Therefore, even if Wu Cece changed her appearance, the rascal in her bones did not change at all. In fact, there were many children in the town who grew up with the old people, but there were very few like her. Wu Cece stared at the old lady and gritted her teeth. Do you think I'm stupid? Do you think I don't understand what you mean? You are obviously praising Jing Yunzhao and belittling me. Little classmate, we didn't bother too much with you when you made a mistake just now. Is it appropriate for you to make the old lady angry because of a sentence? If something bad happens to our family's old lady, can you bear the responsibility? The uncle immediately said. There were many people on the street. Although they were standing by the side of the road, the other places were even noisier. Therefore, no one stopped to pay attention. Are you bullying us because there are only two of you? Wu Cece said, then glanced at Jing Yunzhao and said coldly, what the hell? Then what's the point of comparing me to Jing Yunzhao? Do you know who she is? She's just an ingrate. Her father is in a wheelchair every day and doesn't eat or drink. She doesn't even care about him. Is this kind of person worthy of being compared to me? The father Wu Cece was talking about was naturally Qiao Weimin. The matter of Qiao Weimin breaking his leg was well known by everyone. However, no one in the town sympathized with him. After all, Qiao Weimin's deeds had been spread across the streets. In the eyes of others, it was just karma. Wu Cece hadn't returned to Ningxiang town for a long time, so she didn't know many things in detail. Jing Yunzhao hadn't even opened her mouth when she saw Wu Cece staring at her and laughing coldly. Jing Yunzhao, you're really something. You're really getting more and more capable now. You even learned how to pretend to be a good person. What's the matter? Are you trying to embarrass me on purpose? We've been classmates for a year. Do you have to side with an outsider? Oh, by the way, don't think that we didn't see it just now. A man said that you're his woman, right? But just now, I saw that he fainted and was sent away. Is there something wrong with his body? I advise you to be careful. If you often stand by the river, your shoes will get wet. It won't be good if one day you catch a disease. Wu Cece said again. She saw Jing Yunzhao just now, but she didn't recognize him. It was mainly because Jing Yunzhao was much more beautiful. At that time, she was only surprised by the man who had bought 10 or 20 fireworks, so she took a few more glances. As for what happened after that, she didn't pay much attention because she saw the thing she wanted to buy. She only knew that the two men had left. It was also at that time that she saw Jing Yunzhao's back and remembered who she was. That rubber ball was indeed thrown at Jing Yunzhao just now. Who knew that she seemed to have eyes on the back of her head and avoided it so accurately? It was too strange. Chapter 445. Wu Cece's face was full of disdain. Her words gave the people beside her a headache. Are you done? Jing Yunzhao stood there, neither servile nor overbearing, and said, I haven't seen you for 2 or 3 years, and your skin is thicker than before. In the past, you only copied my homework and threatened me to cheat for you. Now, you can reverse right and wrong. You even complained about Qiao Weimin just now. didn't you find out why he was so miserable? A bastard who abused his adopted daughter is worthy of your protection. Your worldview is indeed shocking. The family didn't believe Wu Cici's words. After all, it wasn't like they didn't see this girl's mischievous appearance. Now that they heard Jing Yunzhao speak, the old lady and the others were very surprised and resentful. 2 or 3 years ago. Looking at the two little girls now, it seemed that this Wu Cici had been bad since she was young. Jing Yunzhao, don't you think you are ridiculous? Do you think that after leaving the Qiao family and coming to Huaning County, you can live like a dog? Look at the things you bought, they are all vegetables. Don't tell me you are going to use these weeds to fill your stomach. It's New Year, how miserable. Wu Cici mocked. After saying that, she thought about it and raised her hand to take the leftover snacks from the boy next to her. Do you want me to reward you? Jing Yunzhao looked at her calmly, but didn't care. He changed the topic. Are you going to compensate the old lady however much I compensate her? Previously, we said that each person would get half, right? Speaking of money, Wu Cici curled her lips. Are you crazy? Why should I compensate? Are you stupid? It seems that you are right to say that you are poor. Since you are so poor, these snacks are better for you to fill your stomach. And I think it's not that you don't want to compensate, but that you don't have the ability to compensate, right? In that case, what right do you have to laugh at me for eating these vegetables? Jing Yunzhao said. Wu Cici glanced at him. What a coincidence, I have my New Year's money in advance. In addition to my usual pocket money, I am not as poor as you. Isn't it just compensation? Alright, I'll take whatever amount you, Jing Yunzhao, take out. But if I can take it out, then you have to kowtow to me on the streets and apologize. You also have to make them return my money to me. How about that? How much money could Jing Yunzhao have on her? Most of the fireworks should have been gone by now, right? She heard from the people in town that she recognized someone as her god-grandfather. Perhaps she was here today to run as an errand boy, but the other party wouldn't give her a lot of money. Jing Yunzhao pursed her lips. Okay. But what if you can't come up with the same amount of money as me? Wu Cici sneered. Of course. But also, I left some of my money with my classmate, so it's reasonable for me to get the money from him, Wu Cici added. Jing Yunzhao nodded. Okay. Wu Cici took out her own wallet and the wallet of the boy next to her, waiting for Jing Yunzhao to make a move. Jing Yunzhao put down the things in her hands, glanced at her, and took out 2 red banknotes from her bag. The other party looked at it and revealed a look of understanding. She immediately took out 2 banknotes and waved them in her hand. But this proud smile didn't last for more than 2 seconds. Jing Yunzhao took out 5 bills at once. Wu Cici's smile froze, but she didn't panic. She flipped through her wallet and took out another 500 yuan. But there was a lot of change in the wallet. The remaining money in the wallet added up to less than 100 yuan. She was a student. Even if she had New Year's money and pocket money, she wouldn't have much. Moreover, their mouths were greasy and they looked like they were having fun. It was obvious that they had spent a lot. Now, the two of them had more than 700 yuan in their hands. Chapter 446. The corner of Jing Yunzhao's mouth slightly hooked up. He took out another 10 notes from his pocket. Do you still need to count? Comparing money with her. She was the big boss behind Yuling Wines. How could she lack money? Not to mention Yuling Wines, which made an astonishing amount of money every day. Even Du Lin's Yutian Xian and the tea house's income couldn't be underestimated. Wu Cici's face turned ugly. Seeing Jing Yunzhao take out so much money, she couldn't believe it. Where did you get so much money? Oh, I know. It was given by the 2 men just now, right? You're biting like a mad dog after losing. Jing Yunzhao sneered. Wu Sisi classmate, don't you know the rules of accepting defeat? Please take out the 700 yuan. Also, kneel down and apologize. If Wu Sisi won, she would take the money herself. But since she lost, she naturally had to compensate the old lady. I won't. What's the point of you winning an unfair battle? Why should I admit it when you bet with me with money from being a mistress? As she spoke, she quickly stuffed all the money into her wallet. I'm telling you, if you dare to rob me, I'll call the police. Jing Yunzhao smiled. I won't rob you, but Wu Sisi, do you want one of your parents to lose their job? What did you say? Wu Sisi was startled. Was Jing Yunzhao crazy about money? Her parents lost their jobs. What a joke, they worked in Ning City. Now they both jumped ship to a very promising company. Who was Jing Yunzhao? Did he think that her parents wouldn't be able to survive just because she threatened them? In front of her, Jing Yunzhao looked at the travel bag she was carrying and couldn't help but smile. The world was so small. Enemies would always meet. Yuling Wine Company's year-end bonus wasn't bad. Not only did the top management get a bonus, they also gave every employee some gifts such as rice, oil, alcohol, and some bonuses. Other than that, there were also year-end lucky draws. Some gave computers, mobile phones, electric bikes, and so on. The normal consolation prize was the travel bag that Wu Sisi was carrying on her back. The bag wasn't expensive, but the design was very good. She had personally gone through all the prizes, and the designs were all chosen by her. She had even specially printed the company's logo on the bag. Not to mention being so close, even if it was 10 meters away, she would be the first to notice it. Therefore, she was certain that one of Wu Sisi's parents worked at Yuling Wines. After all, although this travel bag looked good, it was more practical. Most people kept it at home and rarely gave it away. Wu Sisi, someone in your family works at Jade Spirit Wine, right? Jing Yunzhao asked directly. She didn't want to be implicated, but she really didn't hold back against Wu Sisi. She was just that vengeful. She couldn't tolerate the parents of a girl who had bullied her so much in her previous life that she couldn't even raise her head. She couldn't tolerate the fact that Wu Sisi used her salary as capital to abuse her. How do you know? Wu Sisi asked subconsciously. After saying that, she laughed to herself. I didn't expect you to know about Yuling Wines. I don't know the background of the two men you know, but I can tell you that Yuling Wines is considered a big company. Many people in the company have connections, and they won't be easily threatened. Moreover, my father isn't an ordinary employee. You want my parents to work for you? Dream on. Seems like both of your parents are working there. Jing Yunzhao pursed her lips and smiled. As the company grew bigger and bigger, they naturally could not know all the people they recruited like they did in the beginning. She did not want to know about Wu Sisi's parents. She only knew that they had a daughter who cheated her parents. She deserved to be fired. With such a daughter's character, she should stop thinking about earning money and educate her at home. If they worked in other companies, she wouldn't care, but her company couldn't tolerate people who went against her. Chapter 447. Jing Yunzhao's smile looked a little scary. Wu Sisi's heart flashed with a trace of uneasiness, but in the blink of an eye, that uneasiness in her heart was pacified. She did not believe Jing Yunzhao's words. She must be deliberately mystifying to scare her. How could she not know Jing Yunzhao? In the past, when she was in school, she did not even have enough to eat. Although Qiao Hongya always showed that she was incomparably considerate towards Jing Yunzhao, in reality, she had never seen Jing Yunzhao enjoy any good treatment. Qiao Hongya's pocket money was endless, and she enjoyed all kinds of snacks every day, but Jing Yunzhao's stomach was always growling. Xiao Hongya always said that she was trying to lose weight or that she had a conflict with her family, but Wu Sisi did not believe her. Although she did not like Xiao Hongya, she was also disgusted with Jing Yunzhao, this good student. She was obviously a pitiful worm, but so many teachers liked her. She was simply annoying. Jing Yunzhao, why do you care where my parents work? Besides, since you're so rich, you can compensate them yourself. Don't use my parents to scare me, I won't fall for it. After a while, seeing that Jing Yunzhao was still staring at her, Wu Sisi braced herself and said. After she finished speaking, she turned to leave. Losing to Jing Yunzhao was simply too embarrassing. Jing Yunzhao directly took out his phone and dialed Pak Yuan's number. Pak Yuan had 2 phones on him. One of them was specially prepared for the big boss, Jing Yunzhao. It was not switched off 24/7, making it convenient for communication. Every time Jing Yunzhao called, it would not ring more than 3 times, and he would definitely hear Pak Yuan's voice. Not only Pak Yuan, but even Xiang Jin was the same. Therefore, when Jing Yunzhao dialed, there was almost an instant response from the other end of the phone. Pak Yuan's voice was somewhat suspicious as he said, Yunzhao. Brother Bai, please help me check if there are any employees with the surname Wu in the company. Both husband and wife work in the company, Jing Yunzhao said directly. Wu Sisi stopped in her tracks and turned around to stare at her phone in disbelief. This phone was the latest model this year, and it was smart. Wu Sisi was a little envious. This phone was not cheap. Her sister had one, but she had pestered her parents for a long time. They did not agree and did not give it to her, which made her upset for a long time. As soon as Jing Yunzhao said that, Pak Yuan made the arrangements. Although it was the holiday period, many people stayed in the company for the high overtime pay. Moreover, Pak Yuan had the information of the company's employees on his computer. After a simple selection, he found Wu Sisi's parents. Yes, the man is called Wu Dali. He's 40 years old this year. His wife is called Sun Jia. Wu Dali is a supervisor in the Human Resources Department. His wife is an assistant who trains newcomers. Pak Yuan rubbed his eyebrows. The company had a rule that members of the same family were not allowed to work in the same department. The main thing was that Wu Dali met the company's requirements in terms of education and qualifications. However, his wife was not. Her education was not enough, and her resume clearly stated that she used to work in a factory. To put it bluntly, she had never worked in this line of work. In fact, as long as she did well now, it did not matter what she did in the past. However, people with discerning eyes could see that the reason why his wife could come to Yuling Wines was probably because he had done something after he became a supervisor. When the water was too clear, there would be no fish. Occasionally, there would be mistakes in the company that should not be made. However, as a leader, Pak Yuan could not tolerate it. The salary given by the company was generally higher than other companies. The treatment and other aspects were the best. However, some people were greedy and wanted to take advantage of it. That was asking for trouble. Chapter 448. Pak Yuan did not know the purpose of Jing Yunzhao's call. When he saw the file, he pondered for a while. I'm sorry, Yunzhao. I wasn't strict enough. Someone made a mistake, Pak Yuan said. He still remembered how excited he was when Jing Yunzhao handed him more than 30 million. At that time, he had just returned from capital city. He had just experienced the despair of being fired, ostracized, and even cuckolded. He was already thinking of returning to the small town to fend for himself. Jing Yunzhao's sudden appearance in front of him made him regain his former ambition. He even thought of returning to capital city one day and showing off in front of that adulterous couple. Although it was a little childish, he was a man. He could tolerate other things, but being poached was equivalent to slapping his face. If he did not remember it, he might not even have the guts to be a man. Jing Yunzhao gave him this opportunity. Although it was a little hard, he was very comfortable doing this job. Therefore, even if it was a small mistake, he was willing to bear it in front of Jing Yunzhao. Jing Yunzhao muttered, "How is this Wu Dali's reputation in the company?" Pak Yuan was stunned. "Wait, I'll ask a few people." There was nothing special in the file. There were no outstanding achievements, and no major mistakes. According to the file, Jing Yunzhao might not be satisfied. While Jing Yunzhao was on the phone, Wu Sisi stood there in a daze. At first, she did not dare to believe it. After that, she had some intention of teasing. She did not believe that Jing Yunzhao really called CEO by. Since she was willing to put on an act, she would wait here. Later on, her parents were still fine. Let's see what she had to say. Not long after, Pak Yuan continued, "This Wu Dali is pretty good at doing things. He's quite direct, but he can't be considered an honest person. After all, he's been in the workplace for so many years. His wife's reputation isn't too good. Just now, someone said that her hands and feet weren't clean, and hinted for the newcomer to give her a gift." Originally, Pak Yuan wouldn't have heard of this kind of thing. However, after making a few calls to his subordinates, someone panicked. At this time, CEO Pak Yuan was definitely not inquiring about Wu Dali and his wife to pay a New Year's visit. Although Pak Yuan had only asked a simple question at that time, the effect was different from before. When they asked about Wu Dali's superior and his colleagues, the leader's attitude was naturally very serious. It was inevitable that everyone would tremble in fear. They all thought that the higher-ups knew about Wu Dali and his wife, so they obediently told them everything. The workplace was like a battlefield. She couldn't possibly throw herself into it for the sake of an ordinary person. Therefore, the matter between the husband and wife was instantly exposed. Jing Yunzhao raised his eyebrows. "Since it's against the rules, fire them immediately. Right now." After he said that, Pak Yuan thought for a while. "Did the husband and wife offend you?" Jing Yunzhao couldn't have paid attention to a supervisor and a small employee for no reason. Although Wu Dali was considered a small leader, he wasn't related to the higher-ups at all. Jing Yunzhao knew every member of the higher-ups very well, but he shouldn't have paid attention to Wu Dali. "He didn't offend me, but his daughter did." "Oh right, when you're notifying them of their dismissal, don't forget to remind them to follow the example of their superiors." After Jing Yunzhao finished speaking, he hung up the phone. Wu Sisi smiled. "Jing Yunzhao, I didn't realize that you had such talent in the past. It's a pity that you didn't go into acting." Chapter 449. Wu Sisi was laughing in her heart. This was the first time she had seen someone act so idiotically and seriously. Every action and expression seemed real. If it wasn't impossible, she would have believed that she was really ordering Director Bai to fire them. Not to mention Wu Sisi, even the family next to her didn't believe that Jing Yunzhao could really decide the career of this girl's parents. "You think I'm acting, right? In less than 10 minutes, you can call home and ask," Jing Yunzhao said with a smile. It didn't even take 10 minutes. The company fired her parents, so logically speaking, they should compensate them with some salary. However, this couple had committed a crime. They knew that the company had rules against nepotism, but they were still so brazen. That was fine, but Wu Sisi's mother even hinted at the newcomers to give them gifts. From the perspective of a leader, these newcomers represented the future of the company. What right did she, a training assistant, have to bully the newcomers? If this kind of thing became a trend, then it would really be bad from the roots. Many newcomers would probably think that if they wanted to stay in the company and do better, they had to build relationships layer by layer. Of course, her thinking was a bit exaggerated, but it was definitely not without reason. Wu Cece rolled her eyes and casually threw away the bag of leftover snacks in her hand. What's the big deal? I'll wait. Time passed by minute by minute. Jing Yunzhao was calm and composed, and Wu Cece was even more so. The child in the family next to them was a bit noisy. He pestered his mother to buy some food nearby. Wu Cece's classmate was the same. He was too lazy to accompany the two girls and went to find some fun nearby. Once 10 minutes were up, Wu Cece immediately took out her phone and started to make a call. However, the line was busy, so she waited for a while. After several attempts, it finally connected. Cece, what's the matter? Your father is annoyed now, don't call. Oh right, come back early tonight, don't make your father angry. A familiar voice came from the other end of the phone. Wu Cece panicked. What happened at home? Could it be that Jing Yunzhao really? Impossible. Wu Cece immediately denied it in her heart. But comforting oneself was not as straightforward as the truth. Wu Cece's mother continued, Sigh, your father and I were fired by the company. It doesn't matter to me, but your father's salary is high. I thought I had a secure job, but who knew? Suddenly, Wu Cece felt her brain buzzing. Was he fired? Why? He pretended to be calm and asked again. Your dad saw that I was working hard at the factory, so he transferred me there. Actually, I violated the company's taboo. Also, the higher-ups found out about the newbie giving me gifts. I heard that CEO Bai was quite angry. Other than your dad and me, I'm afraid he'll have to clean up some people after the new year. In Pak Yuan's eyes, even if he could tolerate sand, he could not tolerate stone. These two people's positions were not high, but they were so brazen. This proved that there were people in the HR department who did the same thing. Moreover, an assistant had accepted the gift. What about the others? Since he had found something fishy, he could not let it continue to fester. By the way, the company also said something about subordinates following the example of their superiors. Your dad and I don't know what it means. As soon as he said this, Wu Cece was so frightened that she immediately hung up the phone. If her parents knew that they lost their jobs because of her, they would definitely beat her to death. Looking up at Jing Yunzhao again, she was a little flustered. She subconsciously swallowed and was suddenly speechless. Chapter 450. Wu Cece felt that her mind was a little fuzzy. She even wondered if she had just had a nightmare. How could Jing Yunzhao have such an ability? Wu Cece was terrified. Do you need me to tell your parents why they resigned? Jing Yunzhao asked again. He was already being polite by teaching her a lesson for bullying her back then. Furthermore, her parents had indeed made a mistake. A hint of nervousness flashed across Wu Cece's face. In the next second, she looked at the family and gritted her teeth. I'm sorry, I was wrong. I only have this much money on me. You can go to the hospital later. She only took out 300 yuan. The reason why she had 700 yuan before was because she had a classmate standing beside her. Now that her classmate wasn't around, this money was indeed her entire family's money. People like Wu Cece who bullied the weak and feared the strong were probably people like her. She was realistic and selfish. Once she met someone strong, she would immediately show weakness. The other family was stunned. They looked at the money in front of them but didn't take it. We already said that we don't want your money. If you had sincerely apologized from the start, things wouldn't have turned out this way. Wu Cece glanced at Jing Yunzhao and nodded. She was arrogant outside, but when she came home, she had to be obedient. She had an older sister. Her parents wanted to give birth to a boy, but she disappointed them. At that time, birth control was very strict. If her parents were caught, they would have to pay a large sum of money. Hence, she was thrown back to her maternal grandmother's house. She was a girl and brought trouble to her family, so her parents didn't like to talk to her. They would come back to visit her during festivals, but she had nothing to say to her parents. They were like relatives. It wasn't until 3 years ago, during the winter break on the second day of Chinese New Year, that they took care of everything for her and brought her back. However, her parents were very polite to her at first. Later on, they didn't pay much attention to her because she was far worse than her sister. She was vulgar and not like a girl. Her grades weren't good and she had a thick dialect. She didn't fit in with the girls in the big city. Although she had adapted to the environment now, her parents were still very biased towards her sister. If they knew that she was the main reason why her parents lost their jobs, she would have a hard time. He couldn't help but feel a little regretful. If he had known earlier, he would have pretended not to know Jing Yunzhao. She just felt that she hadn't seen Jing Yunzhao for a long time and subconsciously wanted to bully her. In the past, Jing Yunzhao's life wasn't as good as hers, so she naturally assumed that the current Jing Yunzhao was the same. It was only when she saw Jing Yunzhao that she felt a bit of balance in her heart, feeling that her life wasn't bad. Who knew that Jing Yunzhao actually knew Yuling Wine's CEO Bai? Moreover, when she was talking to CEO Bai, she didn't seem to be acting coquettishly. She couldn't figure out the relationship between Jing Yunzhao and that CEO Bai. Once Wu Cece apologized, the family didn't want to argue with her anymore. All right. Young lady, you should be more careful next time. Don't say that someone is trying to blackmail you the moment you open your mouth. That's simply insulting. After the old lady said that, she turned to Jing Yunzhao and said, "Thank you, little girl. If there's nothing else, we'll leave first." As she said that, her son immediately went up to her. She walked towards the booth where her daughter-in-law and grandson were. However, after a few steps, she saw the family's daughter-in-law running over with a nervous expression. "Mom, did you see Xiao Jie?" Chapter 451. The commotion had lasted for about 20 minutes, and the two grandsons could not stand it any longer. Hence, the daughter-in-law brought the two children to the nearby stalls to shop. Because there were a lot of people and it was very noisy, it was easy to get lost. Hence, when the daughter-in-law said that, the old man's expression changed drastically. Jing Yunzhao had also seen the child just now. The lost one was about 4 or 5 years old, and the eldest grandson was not very old either, about 7 or 8 years old. Now, the daughter-in-law was holding his hand. Perhaps he was a little frightened, as he was crying non-stop. When Wu Cece saw that this family was in trouble, she shrank back and found an opportunity to quickly leave. "What happened? Where's Xiao Jie? Didn't I just ask you to look after the child?" the uncle asked anxiously. The woman was so anxious that her eyes turned red. "I don't know. The two of them wanted to eat, and I had to pay, so I let go of my hand. But I asked the eldest to hold the second one, but when I turned back after paying, he was gone. I thought he ran back to look for you." The moment he said that, the whole family was thrown into disarray. "Hurry up and look for him. My good grandson." The old lady's body was trembling, and her voice was trembling. She lifted her feet and walked towards the place where her grandson had disappeared. After such a thing happened, Jing Yunzhao could not sit back and do nothing, so he followed behind to take a look. There were many people on the street, and the probability of accidents happening during the new year was higher. Not to mention car accidents, there were many people who lost their children. It would be fine if they got lost. After all, if they met a kind-hearted person, they would be sent to the police station. But if they met a human trafficker, how could they find him in this sea of people? Because of this, the family was even more anxious. They asked the old man to look after the eldest grandson, and the husband and wife shuttled through the streets. Son! That's my son! In the crowd, Jing Yunzhao vaguely heard the daughter-in-law shout. Jing Yunzhao looked in the direction she was pointing excitedly. Among the countless people, he finally saw the back of an unfamiliar person holding a child. She had seen that child before, so even though they were far away, she could roughly recognize him from the color and style of his clothes. The child had not been lost for long, and the other party had not gone far. It was fortunate that she could see him now. However, the distance between the child and the mother was not far, but it was not an exaggeration to say that it was a sea of people. The surroundings were noisy. Even if she screamed at the top of her lungs, other than a few people nearby, the people not far away did not notice. The person carrying the child hurriedly walked forward while not forgetting to look around. He squeezed through the crowd, causing many people to be dissatisfied, but no one said anything. The child seemed to be holding a lollipop in his hand, but he was still crying loudly. How can this be? Isn't this asking for my life? Tears streamed down the old lady's face. Beside her, her eldest grandson was sobbing. The old lady grabbed his hand, afraid that she would lose him too. Grandma, leave me your phone number. I'll help you look for it. If I find it, I'll call you. Jing Yunzhao looked into the distance and hurriedly put down his things. He took out a pen and paper from his pocket and said, Okay. In this kind of situation, one more person meant more power. The old lady hurriedly recited a string of numbers with trembling hands. This is my son's phone number, Jing Yunzhao nodded. He looked at the things on the ground and felt a little helpless. It was definitely inconvenient to lead these people forward. There were so many people, and it was impossible to store them in the space. It was also not good to ask the old lady to help look after them, so he could only waste them. Chapter 452. Jing Yunzhao couldn't care less. She lifted her feet and chased in the direction of the crowd. She didn't want to meddle in other people's business, but why did she learn martial arts? She couldn't just watch this old lady's grandson be taken away right under her nose without saying a word, right? In another place, the couple also squeezed through. The couple was crying so hard that many people made way for them. However, they had already seen the other person's figure, but in the next second, the other person turned and disappeared in front of them. When they rushed over to take a look again, the person was nowhere to be seen. Jing Yunzhao's face was serious. Her attention was focused, and she never left the other person. When the other person turned into another street, she quickly paid attention to all the people with similar figures. She saw that the person just now seemed to have changed a jacket. Even the child's clothes were different. His small head was wrapped in a scarf, and a new hat was put on. Outsiders couldn't see anything wrong at all. When Jing Yunzhao was chasing the person, she had been observing every feature of the person, from the appearance of the person's clothes to the way they walked. The person looked no different from an ordinary person, but everyone's physical condition was different, especially when they were nervous. Their muscles were tight, and the strength they used in their legs would be different. Therefore, she could find the target at a glance among so many people. The other person ran very fast. When Jing Yunzhao was more than 10 meters away, the person had already gotten into a van. The license plate of the van was covered. Even if it was exposed, it might not be real. Therefore, Jing Yunzhao could only bite the bullet and chase after the person. Squatting down to tie her shoelaces, Jing Yunzhao took a deep breath and sped up to catch up. There were countless obstacles in front of her. Everyone saw a figure jumping over the roadblocks easily. It looked like a movie. Oh my God, is this woman wearing spandex shoes? How can she jump so far? Don't you think it's cool? If she participates in the school's 100-meter dash, she might break the record. No, she can directly participate in the athlete's race. Several girls looked at Jing Yunzhao's figure and said in surprise. Is she chasing after that car? No way. Can she outrun it? She's so fast. She attracted a lot of attention. Although she was very fast, strangely, no one felt that she was in a sorry state. The coffee-colored scarf on her neck flew in an arc, bringing with it a faint fragrance. As she got further and further away from the van, she rushed onto the road as if she didn't care about her life. With a leap, she actually jumped onto the roof of someone else's car. She was like a Batman that only appeared on TV. Borrowing the car's speed, she got closer and closer to her target. Just as she was about to pass by the van, Jing Yunzhao pulled down the scarf on her neck and threw it at the empty front passenger seat. The car window broke. The other party's car still hadn't stopped. Jing Yunzhao's silhouette flashed, and her whole person entered the car through the broken window. No way. Hurry up and hit me. Am I dreaming right now? Are there cameras? The corner of the girl's mouth twitched as she watched from afar. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. That girl looked about the same age as them. She wasn't a muscular woman. That's right. And the thing that smashed the car window was a scarf and not a gravity weapon. But if that's right, how did she do it? She swallowed her saliva unconsciously. Although she clearly saw the whole process of the girl chasing the van, she was now in a trance. What happened before wasn't very clear. It was like an illusion. Chapter 453. This scene was like a science fiction movie. Even the van driver was dumbfounded. The girl who appeared out of nowhere in the front passenger seat was looking at him coldly, as if she would break his neck in the next second. Suddenly, the van stopped by the roadside. The driver was about 30 years old. In the back seat was the woman holding the child. She looked nervous, but there was nothing she could do. She could only get out of the car to negotiate. Jing Yunzhao smashed the window, attracting a lot of attention. When the man got out of the car, he immediately said to Jing Yunzhao innocently, "What's wrong with you, little girl? How can you do such a dangerous thing?" The other party's attitude was not bad. He seemed to be concerned. Jing Yunzhao stared at the child in the woman's hand and said coldly, "Give this child back to me." The woman's heart skipped a beat. She felt guilty and afraid. This was not the first time he had done such a thing. Every time it was a festive season, it would be best to fool everyone. He would dress up a little and he would be able to fool everyone. He had never made a mistake before. But this time, a little girl actually chased after him. What do you mean? What do you want my son for?" The other party asked nervously. "Your son. Didn't you just snatch this child from the street in the square?" Jing Yunzhao said coldly. When the people around heard her, they were shocked. They all looked at the child. The child had red lips and white teeth. His chubby little face was very cute. However, there were still some tears on his face. He looked a little pitiful. He pouted and looked scared. Could it be that she really snatched him? "Little girl, don't talk nonsense. This is my son. How can it be snatched? You can't accuse others even if you want to do a good deed. Why don't you see how you scared my son?" The man suddenly roared. His roar scared the little boy so much that he couldn't even open his mouth to speak. "You wait. I'll call the police and call their parents. Then, everything will be clear." Jing Yunzhao took out her phone. When the man saw it, his face changed. He quickly squatted beside the child and hugged him. "Good son, don't be afraid. Daddy will beat the bad guy away. Everyone, take a look." The little girl just jumped down from the roof of the car. Could it be that she has a mental problem? My son is scared out of his wits. What if he calls his accomplices over? What are we going to do then? The woman next to her raised her voice and said, "Nowadays, human traffickers are thinking of ways to kidnap children. Young lady, you're still young. It's better if you turn yourself in as soon as possible." No one could compare to her ability to reverse black and white. "Since you said that I'm a human trafficker, all the more reason to wait for the police," Jing Yunzhao said. With one look, the other party knew that this young lady would not give up until all hope was gone. Seeing that she had made the call, they were extremely anxious. After all, this young lady was too strange. She had actually chased them all the way, and they had not even been able to drive. When the woman saw this, she thought about it and suddenly knelt down with a plop. She said to the people around her, "I beg everyone to help us. I'm really the mother of this child. This little girl is actually my ex-husband's illegitimate daughter. My ex-husband fooled around outside and had a lot of children. I finally divorced him, but who would have thought that he would actually steal my child away? I'm the child's biological mother. That bastard is not human. He beats and scolds the child and often doesn't give him food. I really can't stand it anymore, so I want to take the child back. I beg you, please help this poor mother of mine." Chapter 454. As the woman spoke, she kept kowtowing to the crowd. When the surrounding people saw this, they couldn't help but sympathize with her. "Just look at her skills and you'll know. She learned them from that damned ex-husband. My ex-husband likes to beat people up the most. This little girl is also bad. Sometimes she makes my son dress up as a beggar to go out and ask for money." The woman's acting skills were excellent. Her eyes were red and tears streamed down her face. She was now forced into a desperate situation, so she used a lot of strength when she kowtowed. After a few kowtows, her forehead was so red that it looked like blood was about to flow down. It touched people's hearts. Who would believe that she was lying when she looked like this? Immediately, the surrounding crowd blocked the couple's path. They pointed at Jing Yunzhao and said, "This child is also your younger brother. How can you be so cruel and not let him go with his mother? It's obvious that you don't treat him well. The child is already crying like this, but you still won't let him go. That's right, that's right. Everyone, let's block her. It won't be good if she called this big sister's ex-husband." The crowd formed a circle with Jing Yunzhao in the middle. Jing Yunzhao looked at these people in surprise and was speechless. How could they believe such a lousy lie? Just because the other party looked like a weakling. Seeing that the pair of human traffickers had gotten back into the car, Jing Yunzhao said, "All of you, get out of the way." "No. Don't be ungrateful, child. It's only right for a child to look for his mother," the onlookers said. Jing Yunzhao knew that these people had good intentions, but she felt that there were many ways to be kind. If she blindly believed them now, it would only cause her death. Seeing that these people didn't give way, Jing Yunzhao didn't want to be polite. Her hand was still wrapped in the scarf that Li Xiaoyun gave her to keep out the cold. Jing Yunzhao rushed out of the crowd and lifted her leg to kick a few people's calves. Instantly, their legs went numb and they couldn't lift them at all. She was fast enough and rushed to the side of the car. She pressed hard on the other party's acupuncture points and easily snatched the child into her arms. The child cried so miserably that his throat was torn. At this time, the man and woman saw that there was no way to turn the situation around. They looked at each other and crazily climbed into the car. Jing Yunzhao gritted his teeth, turned around, and rushed to the front of the car. His hand slammed down on the front window, and actually shattered the steering wheel. Immediately, everyone who saw this sucked in a cold breath. Jing Yunzhao's elbow was dripping blood from the car window, and it looked particularly horrifying. The group of onlookers couldn't help but take a step back in shock. Now that the car was broken, the man and woman could no longer use it. They wanted to run away, but Jing Yunzhao could even destroy the car. How could he give them the chance? He wrapped the scarf around their necks, strangling them tightly. This place was about 2 or 3 streets away from where the child was lost. When the child was lost, the police were called immediately. Therefore, in less than 10 minutes, a group of people rushed over. Shao Jia. When the child's mother saw this, her tears fell. She rushed over and cried. Jing Yunzhao stuffed the child back. We found him, but you have to be careful next time. These 2 traffickers acted quickly. Obviously, they weren't novices. They must have kidnapped more than one child, right? Jing Yunzhao sighed inwardly, her feelings a little complicated. Just now, she knew martial arts and directly suppressed the other party, so the tragedy didn't happen. However, if she didn't know martial arts, she was afraid that no one would believe her even if she screamed until her throat was broken. She could only let the child be taken away. Chapter 455. The family held the child tightly and refused to let go. All of them were in tears. When the onlookers saw this, they weren't so stupid as to be deceived. Moreover, the child was crying badly just now. Now that his mother had coaxed him, he was much better. If he wasn't her biological child, who would believe it? However, at this moment, all of them were angry after being deceived. Just now, this pair of human traffickers acted so well. Their heads were broken and their tears were no less than this family's. If they were sent to the Best Actor and Best Actress awards, they would definitely be selected. However, although they were angry, when they thought of the scene of helping the evildoers, they felt a little embarrassed. Student, I'm really sorry. Just now, we thought. Someone sighed and said with some difficulty. Jing Yunzhao shook her head. You did something bad with good intentions. However, I think that if you encounter this kind of thing again in the future, neither side will let you leave. It's best to call the police directly. At this time, it wasn't good to believe anyone. The best way should be to call the police, right? If this kind of righteous mentality happened a few more times, there would be a lot of unjust cases. The group of people nodded in shame. The group of people were all uncles and aunts. It was really embarrassing to be reminded by a little girl. Fortunately, the child was fine. If he was really taken away, they would probably not be able to live in peace for the rest of their lives after knowing the truth. After Jing Yunzhao finished speaking, she touched her arm and felt a slight pain from her elbow. She was a little anxious when the little guy cried just now, so she was a little harsh. At this moment, the police arrived. Seeing the 2 human traffickers in a sorry state and the van, they were surprised. However, what shocked them more was Jing Yunzhao. They didn't expect a little girl to save them. If there was only one human trafficker, it would be fine. However, there were 2 of them. They didn't know whether to praise her or warn her. I've seen you before. You should be Jing Yunzhao, right? You did a good job, but you still have to be careful in the future. I heard that you crossed the road and jumped out of the car. This is a little dangerous. One of the policemen said. Jing Yunzhao could be considered an acquaintance in the police station. She was outstanding and had a very famous incident a few months ago. It was normal for people to recognize her. Jing Yunzhao nodded humbly. The man glanced at her and then at her arm. Why is there so much blood? Let's get in the car together. I'll take you to the hospital to get your wounds bandaged. No, I don't live far from here. I have medicine and a doctor at home. I don't need to go to the hospital, Jing Yunzhao said. Old man Su is probably going to explode right now, right? She had only gone out to buy groceries, but she had stayed outside for so long. She was afraid that when she went back, she would be accused of being lazy and not working. If she went to the hospital now, it would be even worse. The policeman hurriedly reminded her a few more times. He was very concerned, but in the end, seeing Jing Yunzhao's firm refusal, he really had no choice. In the end, he thought about it and decided to send her home. Jing Yunzhao originally thought that she would have to buy groceries again, but she didn't expect that someone would deliver them to her not long after. It was said that when their family lost their child, someone comforted the old lady and helped her take care of her belongings. Jing Yunzhao was very grateful. She carried the things she bought into the police car and was directly sent to Old Man Su's courtyard. Sure enough, when she pushed the door open, she saw the old man groaning. "Stupid girl, where did you go to play again? Are you trying to starve this old man to death?" Chapter 456. As soon as Old Man Su said that, the police officer behind Jing Yunzhao wanted to speak up for her, but Jing Yunzhao quickly pushed him back. "Thank you, police uncles. You don't have to explain for me. I'll do it myself." With Old Man Su's temper, no matter what others said, it would only get worse. He might even say that she was looking for external help. What she did was a good thing. As long as she explained it clearly, there would be no problem, so there was no need for others to do more. The police officers were baffled, but Jing Yunzhao was very strange, and the old man looked even stranger, so they could only nod and escort the two human traffickers back to the police station. Jing Yunzhao closed the door and walked over with the things. "Old Man Su, something happened on the way here, so I was delayed. How about I compensate you with a bottle of newly brewed medicine later?" Jing Yunzhao's eyes shone. The old man snorted, rubbed his nose, and glanced at her arm. "You're so useless. You're injured." Jing Yunzhao shook her head. "It's just a small injury. It doesn't hurt." After saying that, she couldn't help but laugh. She had to speak the opposite way to the old man. If she said that it didn't hurt, the old man's attitude would be good. If she gritted her teeth and acted coquettishly as soon as she entered the door, the old man would probably throw her out and scold her for being a good-for-nothing who couldn't even bear this little pain. Sure enough, seeing that she didn't even frown, the old man was obviously unhappy. "I think you're not only stupid, but also a little silly. Clean the wound yourself. I'll get some medicine and wrap it up for you. If the smell of your blood affects the herbs here, don't come back in the future." Jing Yunzhao nodded and smiled. "Okay." The old man was exaggerating. The yard was so big, and she didn't bleed a river. How could it affect the herbs? He was obviously worried about her, but he didn't say it directly. She hurriedly cleaned and disinfected the wound. The old man also came out of the house with the medicine. Just as the two of them sat down and were about to apply the medicine, the door opened and Li Xiaoyun stepped in. However, the moment he looked up and saw Jing Yunzhao and Old Man Su, the slight smile on his face fell instantly. His eyes were frighteningly cold. Frowning, he strode over and stared at the wound. Gritting his teeth, he asked, "Did you fight with someone else when I wasn't around? Look at this wound, there are glass shards on it." No, other than the new injury on her arm this time, there were also some cigarette scars. They looked a little old and shocking. The muscles on his face twitched. How did this happen? When Li Xiaoyun said this, his expression was cold. Jing Yunzhao raised his head and looked over. He smiled. I just met a human trafficker. I can't just stand by and do nothing, right? So I chased them all the way and smashed their car windows. Fortunately, I managed to save them. When I left, the child even gave me the lollipop in his hand. To be honest, she was a little excited at that moment. Moreover, that family was so flustered when they lost their child. Such good parents shouldn't be separated from their child. Li Xiaoyun's face was dark. He pointed at her head and gently poked it. Jing Yunzhao, is your brain kicked by a donkey? Did he torture himself to this extent for a lollipop? Isn't it just a lousy lollipop? How much do you want? I can buy it for you. Is one box not enough for a car? If it really can't fill up a house, I can build a candy city for you. With me here, what can you not have? Are you stupid? He had lived for more than 20 years and had been injured countless times. However, he had never felt anything before. However, now that he saw Jing Yunzhao's wound that was still bleeding, he inexplicably felt dizzy. It was more painful than any other injury he had felt before. His whole body felt unwell. Chapter 457. Li Xiaoyun frowned and stared at the wound. Jing Yunzhao couldn't believe what he said. Li Xiaoyun, I saved someone. The candy isn't the point. Jing Yunzhao looked gentle and said, it's just a small wound. The old man has medicine here. It won't take long to recover. It was the first time she saw Li Xiaoyun say such words. He seemed to be a little resentful, but she was the one who was injured. She didn't cause trouble for him. When Jing Yunzhao said that, Li Xiaoyun raised his eyebrows. He could see that she was in a good mood. In the past, no matter how good Jing Yunzhao's mood was, she would still be a little serious in front of him. Her polite attitude would never be this gentle. In front of outsiders, she would always maintain that attitude of keeping people 1,000 miles away. Even if he was very familiar with her now, she was still unbelievably mature and steady. But now, it was different. Her entire person was very relaxed. Even though Elder Su's movements were practiced, it was definitely not without pain. She, on the other hand, acted as if she didn't have any reaction. The corner of her mouth was even slightly raised, as if the injury wasn't on her body. Just for a little boy. Li Xiaoyun's face twitched. He glanced at her bare neck and asked, where's the scarf? Jing Yunzhao's face froze. She pointed to the garbage basket in the yard and said, sorry, it's dirty. She looked a little scared. This scarf of yours is pretty useful. Luckily I have it, or else I would have to go into battle with my bare hands. How about I take it back and wash it before returning it to you? Jing Yunzhao lowered her head and spoke softly. Li Xiaoyun's eyelids twitched. He narrowed his eyes and snorted, didn't you throw it away? Fortunately, he had it. He didn't think so. Not only was the scarf torn, but there were also some broken glass on it. Other than that, there was even some blood on it. The trash bin only contained a discarded medicinal ingredient, but there was a lot of dust. Even if he cleaned it 100 times, he wouldn't use it. Jing Yunzhao braced herself and said, I'm sorry. You don't have to be sorry. Just return me one later. Li Xiaoyun casually replied, it's best if you knit it yourself. At the very least, you have to let me feel your sincerity, right? Jing Yunzhao's mouth twitched. I don't know how to. Is there anything Zhao doesn't know? But it doesn't matter, I believe you. As he spoke, he smiled at her. He didn't forget to glance at her wound. Seeing that the old man was a little rough, he said, there's no need to trouble Elder Su with such trivial matters. As he spoke, he squeezed through the crowd. His slender figure squatted in front of him and directly pulled Jing Yunzhao's arm over. When his warm hand touched Jing Yunzhao's cold arm, he did not stop and quickly wrapped the bandage. His brows were furrowed and his actions were serious. He looked quite charming. However, his method of bandaging was indeed very good. The strength he used was even better than Elder Su's. Jing Yunzhao was surprised. "You know how to bandage?" She didn't seem to have asked Li Xiaoyun what he studied. Although the heavenly fragrance restaurant in the county was run by him, it should be a family business. As for what he knew and what he did in the capital, she had no idea. On the other hand, Li Xiaoyun always paid more attention to his own matters. Li Xiaoyun said casually, "After fighting so many times, I naturally have the ability to bandage." Jing Yunzhao smiled. "Young Master Li, don't tell me you're just a spoiled brat who knows how to eat and drink." Chapter 458. Jing Yunzhao was just joking, because Li Xiaoyun was definitely not a simple playboy no matter how she looked at him. There were thick calluses on his hands, probably caused by practicing martial arts or holding weapons. There was even a scar between his thumb and index finger. She was a doctor, so she could also see that it was a knife wound. In addition, he always looked at people with a bit of scrutiny and caution. He seemed to be a polite gentleman, but he was obviously sizing up people's hearts. The confidence he exuded usually carried a strong sense of arrogance. Although the number of times he fought was not many in short, she could feel the murderous aura every time he fought. Every move he used was aimed at taking the opponent's life. Even if he restrained himself a lot when he was with her and deliberately reduced the range, she was still a martial artist after all, so of course she could feel it. Also, Li Xiaoyun's injury in the car accident in the county was also very suspicious. Maybe he was chased by an enemy. Based on this, she guessed that Li Xiaoyun might be a veteran of the business and often did some unusual business, or maybe he was a soldier who often did missions. In short, he was definitely not an ordinary rich young master. Of course, given that he always came back to worship at various times, the possibility of him being a soldier was very low, because she had never seen such a free soldier. Jing Yunzhao's eyes showed a hint of understanding. Li Xiaoyun treated the wound and helped her to pull down her sleeve. When he passed by the cigarette scar on her arm, he listened for a second or two. "Aren't you a doctor? Can't you get rid of this scar?" Jing Yunzhao was stunned. "It doesn't hurt or itch," old man Su next to him snorted. "Stupid and ugly." Yes, old man Su is right. Li Xiaoyun nodded in agreement. Jing Yunzhao was speechless and hurriedly pulled down her sleeve. "I have a prescription that can remove scars, but this scar is too old and too clear. It's basically impossible to completely remove it, unless you cut off all the flesh around it and let it grow again and use medicine." The recovery ability of new flesh was much stronger than that of old flesh, and no matter how powerful the ointment was, it was impossible to revive dead flesh. She was a doctor, not a psychic. As soon as Jing Yunzhao said this, the old man and the young man in front of him both shut their mouths. The old man groaned as he stood up and changed the topic. "Your hand is injured, so the dishes you make might not taste good. Dinner." Halfway through his words, he paused for a moment before turning to look at Li Xiaoyun with a bizarre expression. "Lad from the Li clan, why don't you do it?" Jing Yunzhao's eyes widened a little. "My injury. There's no problem." He had used the best medicine to stop the bleeding. Even if he swung his arm around, it would not bleed at all. Elder Su should know this, right? However, since he knew about it but still didn't allow her to do it, she was afraid that he was deliberately bullying Li Xiaoyun. "Stupid girl," the old man said and turned around. His beard curled up as he walked towards the living room step by step. As he walked, he scolded again, what are you standing there for? Come and play chess with me. Jing Yunzhao was helpless. She looked at Li Xiaoyun with a complicated expression. Can you do it? The dishes in the restaurant run by Li Xiaoyun were indeed good, but he was not Du Lin. He shouldn't have such superb cooking skills, right? Li Xiaoyun saw that Jing Yunzhao's eyes were shining brightly. She seemed to be worried, but at the same time, she seemed to be rejoicing in other people's misfortune. The corner of his lips curled up as he placed his hands on her ears and turned her head. Leave it to me. Chapter 459. Jing Yunzhao's brain buzzed. Just as she was about to speak, Li Xiaoyun retracted his hand in time. The next second, he didn't stay in front of Jing Yunzhao any longer. He turned around and went straight to the kitchen. Jing Yunzhao originally wanted him to stay further away from her. She didn't like the feeling of being touched by others. Who knew that Li Xiaoyun didn't seem to take this matter to heart? He touched her quickly and let her go quickly. If she were to fuss over every ounce and then open her mouth to remind him, it wouldn't be good. She glanced at him, sighed, and hurriedly followed old Master Su's footsteps. However, Jing Yunzhao didn't see the evil smile on Li Xiaoyun's face after he turned around. Jing Yunzhao learned her Go skills from Tang Zihua's grandfather, but he only taught her the basics. Later, when Elder Su saw her pondering over the Go manual by herself, he pretended to inadvertently give her some pointers. With the old man as her practice partner, her Go skills improved by leaps and bounds. However, this time, Jing Yunzhao was a little absent-minded. She really didn't believe Li Xiaoyun. How could a man like him know how to cook? Moreover, the vegetables she bought were mostly vegetarian. Stupid girl, if you're absent-minded again, you'll lose, old Master Su said as his beard moved. The tea smoke in the room spiraled in spirals, and it smelled very comfortable. These furnishings were all rearranged after Jing Yunzhao came. Old Master Su liked these simple and charming things. Therefore, whenever she found something good in the space, she would send it to old Master Su without hesitation. Needless to say, tea and wine, there were also many blooming orchids. Old Master Su personally watered and served them every day. He liked them very much. Jing Yunzhao held a black piece in her hand, but she was already at a disadvantage on the chessboard. The Li family is not an ordinary rich family, old Master Su said suddenly. Jing Yunzhao was stunned. Li Xiaoyun has a good future, but life and death are up to fate. Success and failure are up to God. If you walk by the river often, how can you not wet your shoes? Old Master Su put down a piece and smiled. Elder Su, what do you mean by this? Jing Yunzhao was a little confused. She didn't really want to know about the Li family's matters. After all, it had nothing to do with them. He said that Li Xiaoyun had a good future, which should be a compliment. But why did he add those two sentences at the end? Calling you stupid is not wrong at all. Elder Su sighed and leaned back. You're smart, tenacious, and hardworking, but there's one thing you don't have. You don't have enough vision. But it was no wonder. She was only 16 or 17 years old. What kind of vision could she have? Moreover, she had always grown up in a place like Huaning County. How was it possible for her to see things clearly in such a short period of time? She could be considered to have matured a lot now. When she first came to his courtyard, she was just a silly girl. Her personality was strong, but her temper was inflexible. The old man's words were so mysterious that even Jing Yunzhao couldn't understand him. However, he didn't say much. It was as if he wanted her to figure it out on her own. The old man seemed to be too lazy to play chess with her. He leaned on the sofa and closed his eyes to rest. Jing Yunzhao thought for a while. After a while, she roughly understood what he meant. He was saying that although Li Xiaoyun had a good future and was a talent, he often experienced danger. Who knew when he would die? She had thought about this before, hadn't she? If Li Xiaoyun was an ordinary person, he naturally wouldn't have such excellent martial arts. In her opinion, it was better to rely on oneself than rely on fate. With Li Xiaoyun's temperament and means, how could he die so easily? Jing Yunzhao smiled and tidied up the chessboard without saying anything. After a while, Li Xiaoyun brought a few dishes. Jing Yunzhao took a look and instantly widened her eyes. Chapter 460. There were quite a few dishes. Including the egg soup, there were a total of 8 dishes, but the appearance. Not only was it pitch black, there wasn't even the slightest bit of oil. Fine salt particles could even be seen on top of it. Some looked like they were roasted, while others looked like they were directly mixed after being boiled. It wasn't elegant at all. Old Man Su glanced over, and his old face trembled. Elder Su's disciple, Uncle Xing Yuan, coughed without leaving a trace. He was a little embarrassed. Jing Yunzhao remained silent, waiting for Elder Su to speak. Elder Su said, not bad. Let's eat. Jing Yunzhao secretly clicked her tongue. She had never seen Elder Su praise Uncle Xing Yuan's dishes before. Sure enough, Li Xiaoyun was a guest, so he was a little more tolerant of him. However, she didn't know if eating this would cause any discomfort. It seemed like she had to prepare some anti-diarrhea medicine. As soon as Elder Su spoke, the few of them immediately walked towards the dining table. After Uncle Xing Yuan went outside to set off a string of firecrackers, the crackling sounds shook the entire courtyard and caused a commotion. Jing Yunzhao listened to the sounds with a smile in her eyes, her face filled with satisfaction. This was the first new year after her rebirth. She had experienced many things in this year, but compared to her previous life, it was an earth-shattering change. It was an excellent start. Once the sound of the firecrackers stopped, the old man took the lead and started eating. Jing Yunzhao also gave Li Xiaoyun enough face and didn't show any signs of dislike. She stuffed a mouthful into her mouth, but the moment it entered her mouth, she looked at Li Xiaoyun in astonishment, her expression carrying a hint of praise. Although the appearance wasn't good, there was nothing to say about the taste. It was fresh and refreshing. Moreover, the taste of these vegetarian dishes was displayed very well. It wasn't the dark cuisine she had imagined. Li Xiaoyun had clearly imagined everyone's reaction. He leisurely ate his meal like a proud aristocrat. His tail seemed to be raised to the sky. Jing Yunzhao curled her lips and disdained in her heart. However, she saw Li Xiaoyun's eyebrows twitch. His deep cold eyes looked over and said with a smile that wasn't a smile, "Don't forget my scarf. I'll give you 3 days." Jing Yunzhao's mouth twitched, okay. If she could knit, he had to be brave enough to wear it. At present, although they were not a family, they were happy and harmonious. After eating, the 4 of them gathered together to play cards to pass the time. After all, the old man was old. He could play chess, but he could not keep up with the game of cards. After his IQ was completely destroyed by Li Xiaoyun, Su Xingyuan began to be responsible for the old man. Jing Yunzhao's eyesight was good, but she would always be caught red-handed by her. Once or twice, she could still tolerate it, but after a few times, she started to throw away the stall and quit, making the old man so angry that his beard was about to fly up. Li Xiaoyun was like a winner in life. After winning a bag of money, he patted his butt and left. Jing Yunzhao was scolded by the old man for being stupid for nothing. However, even though the old man got angry several times today, most of the time, the corners of his mouth twitched as he tried to hold back his laughter. Even when he scolded people, his expression was pleasant. Some families were happy while others were sad. Some people were destined to have an uncomfortable new year. Even though Jing Yunzhao didn't tell Wu Deli the reason why he was fired, Wu Cici's male classmates spilled the beans when he returned home. When Wu Cici's parents heard it, they were so angry that they ruthlessly beat him up. Do you know where your classmate lives? We'll take you back to apologize in person. Wu Cici gritted her teeth and shook her head. Not to mention that she did not know where Jing Yunzhao lived. Even if she did, she would not do it. She had already embarrassed herself once. If she came looking for her again, how could she face others in the future? Chapter 461. The Wu family could not do anything to Wu Cici. They had beaten and scolded her, but the fact that she was unemployed did not change. They weren't young anymore, and luck played a part in their ability to work at Jade Spirit Wines. After all, the company had just been established, and many aspects weren't very strict. It was almost impossible to find another company like Jade Spirit Wines now. Even if they found a job, the position and salary could not be compared to Yuling Wines. Wu Cici was taught a lesson by her family. Other than anger, she was more sad. The negative emotions grew. In a fit of anger, she ran back to Ningxiang County and made a fuss about dropping out of school. Her parents and sister did not dote on her. Only her grandmother was good to her. She did not want to stay with those hypocritical family members anymore. Jing Yunzhao did not know that so many things had happened because of a small bowl. However, even if he knew, his attitude would not change. Wu Cici was not loved by her parents because of the environment. It was not caused by her. If it were her, she would only work harder to prove herself and not attract attention by hurting herself. Moreover, even without her, Wu Cici's relationship with her family was the same. However, Wu Cici's experience was not as good as Hong Wen's. After all, she was just a student with a more shameless personality. No matter how much trouble she caused at home, at least she had a complete family. However, Hong Wen was different. After the new year, her situation was even worse than before. The family lived in an ordinary rental house that they rented temporarily. Hong Wen thought that the Hong family only had a temporary problem and that they would be able to make a comeback soon. However, a few days after the new year, Hong Tian climbed up the building where the Hong family's company used to be located and directly jumped down from the top. Hong Tian's life had been smooth sailing. Even if he didn't eat delicacies, he still ate delicacies. However, after he went bankrupt, he was still in debt. Even food and accommodation became a problem. Other people's families were full of joy and had a constant supply of good food, but their family was extremely poor. Food was not a problem, but the problem was that he could not stand such a big difference. Not long ago, he was still the CEO Hong with unlimited glory. Now, he was suddenly worse than an ordinary person. When he walked on the streets, it was as if everyone looked at him with mocking eyes. Even though he knew that many people did not know him, he could not change his mentality. He wanted to hide in a place where no one could see him. Originally, he could still hold on. However, Hong Wen was seriously ill. She kept yelling that her back hurt and wanted to find the best doctor. Hong Tian's son even accompanied his friends on a cruise and lost 1,000,000 yuan, not to mention 1,000,000, his family could not even take out 100,000 yuan. Standing on the rooftop as the cool breeze blew past, Hong Tian suddenly felt that the biggest failure of his life was not the bankruptcy of his company, but his son and daughter, the son and daughter that he was once proud of. He had always felt that his son could be taught in the future if he didn't know any better, but this future had been delayed for more than 20 years. And his daughter, the daughter that he doted on so much that he didn't hesitate to hire a hitman just because of his daughter's words, but in the end, she only tortured him every night. At that moment, he felt that perhaps death would be the best release for him. Once Hong Tian died, the Hong family lost all hope. Hong Tian's wife was a second wife. She was young and beautiful. She had already run away when the Hong family fell. Hong Wen's brother owed a huge debt. That night, he was dragged out of the house and never came back. Chapter 462. It was the new year, but someone had died in the house. In the eyes of others, it was bad luck. Although the landlord couldn't bear it, he still returned the rent and chased Hong Wen out. Homeless. On the street, Hong Wen sat in a cheap wheelchair, her face burning with pain. She was the eldest daughter of the Hong family. She knew many things, such as horse riding, golf, and various kinds of dancing. She had a social circle that everyone in Ning City envied. She had money, taste, and a bright future. But why was everything gone now? Her father was gone, her brother was gone, her bags, shoes, and even her friends were gone. In the past, many people owed her money. When she called to collect the debt, the other party asked if she had gone crazy from poverty. Just as she was in despair, the phone rang. Hong Wen wiped the tears on her face and picked up the call. "Who is it?" Jing Yunzhao, who heard the voice, was silent for a moment. The next second, she said, "Miss Hong, do you still think that you were born noble? Do you still think that other people's lives are just playthings for you to trample on?" She, just because of a small conflict, took the lives of 3 people and ruined the futures of several people. The 2 drivers died because of her, Cui Jun died because of her, Sun Yan made a mistake and ended up crazy because of her, Ji Shanshan was injured because of her, and even Xiao Haiqing almost had to bear the crime of murder. She remembered this series of events. Jing Yunzhao. Hong Wen instantly became ferocious. "It's you, isn't it? You bitch. If I'm a bitch, what are you? A noble bitch. Miss Hong, I heard that you're currently outside, so I advise you to be careful. I'm afraid that Cui Jun's family members, who were innocently killed by you, will come looking for you for revenge." Jing Yunzhao finished speaking and hung up. She wouldn't keep Hong Wen, but she wouldn't dirty her hands. According to Ji Shanshan, after Cui Jun's death, Cui Zhanshan went crazy to seek revenge on the Ji family. She directly found someone to tell Cui Zhanshan that Hong Wen was the real murderer of his son. The result was obvious. Jing Yunzhao hung up the phone. Hong Wen was so angry that her face turned green. She hated Jing Yunzhao. She didn't know why, but from the first time she saw Jing Yunzhao, she felt that this girl would be someone she would hate for the rest of her life. Whenever she, Hong Wen, appeared at an event, everyone's reaction was normal. Even if they didn't smile at her to curry favor, they would still have an amiable expression on their faces. Those people were the same as her, she could clearly differentiate them, but Jing Yunzhao wasn't. Her eyes were like a mirror. The moment their gazes met, it actually made her feel a little inferior, making her feel an inexplicable threat. Therefore, she hated her incompatibility, hated the tenacity and indifference that radiated from her eyes. Moreover, Jing Yunzhao made her lose face, making her feel for the first time in her life that if Jing Yunzhao still existed, then she would be unhappy for the rest of her life. She didn't believe that Jing Yunzhao could keep winning. Sooner or later, she would. Hong Wen gritted her teeth and pushed the wheelchair forward. Just as she was thinking, a car rushed directly from the opposite side. In an instant, her whole body slammed into the car window. Through the car window, she saw a face full of hatred. She didn't recognize it, but maybe it was the Cui family member that Jing Yunzhao mentioned. Hong Wen's consciousness was dissipating. She felt numb from the pain all over her body. She seemed to be able to hear her weak heartbeat slowly stop. Fear, panic, and fear. She gritted her teeth. Her bloody fingers seemed to move as if she was writing something on the ground, but it didn't last long before she completely stopped breathing. Chapter 463. Hong Wen's death was like a small stone thrown into the ocean. It did not attract anyone's attention at all. Even those who knew about the Hong family only sighed a few times and forgot about it in the blink of an eye. Jing Yunzhao had people keep an eye on Hong Wen, so when Hong Wen got into a car accident, Jing Yunzhao was the first to know. She felt relieved. A debt of blood could only be repaid with blood. Hong Wen wanted her life, so now that she had lost hers, she deserved it. Jing Yunzhao put down her phone. She was holding a crooked scarf in her hand. The box on the table was beautiful, but it did not match the scarf at all. Before her rebirth, she was extremely outstanding in her studies and housework, but she had never knitted a scarf. Although she had the spirit jade after her rebirth, how could there be such a thing in the ancestors' memory? There was not even ancient embroidery, let alone modern knitting. In the past, she had seen her classmates fiddling with such things, but she had no interest in them. This time, she bought a bunch of yarn balls and took them apart a few times before she finally completed a seemingly normal work. The scarf was black and white and looked a little tacky. She felt uncomfortable when she thought of such a thing hanging around Li Xiaoyun's neck. Moreover, the scarf had many missing stitches. It looked like a low-quality handmade product. If she took it out to sell, she was afraid that no one would take a second look at it no matter how low the price was. However, after this attempt, she finally discovered the weakness of her incompetence. After stuffing the scarf into the box, Jing Yunzhao sighed. She thought about it and decided not to meet Li Xiaoyun. Instead, she prepared to give the gift box to Du Lin and let him pass it to him. She could not bring out such an ugly thing. When Jing Yunzhao arrived at Yutian, she was shocked by the booming business here. Yutian was not small, but the hundreds of tables upstairs and downstairs were all full. Even so, she could still smell the aroma of the dishes. The taste was much better than other places. Jing Yunzhao rarely came here. Usually, there would be someone to deliver the goods, so she did not have to make a special trip. Therefore, in her impression, Yutian was still a little cold. How is it? It's not a waste for you to sell those ingredients to me, right? Du Lin hurriedly went downstairs to welcome her. When he saw her, he immediately said proudly, "Why is the business so good?" It seemed that they would be busy all the time. How could the employees in the shop stand it? Although the dishes in my restaurant are a little expensive, they taste good. Most families would want to eat something good during the new year. Why would they put up with it? Du Lin said with a smile. It was an exaggeration to say that his restaurant was so fragrant that there were even many people from Serene City and neighboring cities coming to buy his signature dishes. His reputation was slowly building up. After this busy period was over, he was ready to invest in a branch. Jing Yunzhao nodded. No wonder we've consumed so many ingredients recently. Recently, she had been earning several times more from Yutian than before. Her monthly income was more than 200,000. By the way, Brother Du, when you see young Master Li later, please pass this to him for me. Jing Yunzhao stretched out his hand stiffly. Du Lin was stunned. He felt that Jing Yunzhao's expression was a little unnatural, as if she was very uncomfortable. He took the bag and looked at it. There was a box in the bag. It should be a tie or a scarf. Looking at the packaging, it should be a very tasteful design. Du Lin smiled. Just as he was about to speak, he pointed at the door and said, "I think you should give it to him yourself." "Hey, he's right behind you." Chapter 464. Jing Yunzhao's body stiffened, the corner of her mouth forming an awkward smile. She turned her head and sure enough, she saw Li Xiaoyun sitting in his low-key luxurious business car. He slowly rolled down the window and stared at her with a smile that was not a smile. She braced herself and walked over. Shouldn't the Heavenly Fragrance restaurant be busy at this time? Young Master Li still has time to stroll around. You don't know. I'm the big boss of Yu Tianxian. It's only right for me to check on the business, right? Li Xiaoyun raised his eyebrows and hooked a finger. This is for me, a scarf. Jing Yunzhao was shocked by the word big boss. But after thinking about it, although Du Lin had the skills of an imperial chef passed down from his ancestors, he was indeed lacking in funds. Li Xiaoyun and him were so close, so it was normal for them to work together. Du Lin followed behind and saw Li Xiaoyun get out of the car with a bag. He slowly opened the bag and threw away the box. The next second, Du Lin's mouth twitched. It was his first time seeing such an ugly scarf. Black and white should form a strong color contrast, but the one in front of him was a little strange. It was a thick line, and it didn't look neat at all. To think that he even thought that Jing Yunzhao had taken out a high-end product with style. Sure enough, he was thinking too much. Li Xiaoyun was also stunned. You knitted it seriously? Jing Yunzhao nodded. It was rare for her face to turn red. Du Lin held back his laughter. Li Xiaoyun licked his lips. Then you put it on for me. Young Master Li, are you okay? This scarf is so ugly. Oh, you two aren't betting, are you? Du Lin said at an inappropriate time. In an instant, the two of them rolled their eyes at him, and he shut his mouth. It's more suitable for you to wear it. I've never worn a scarf before, so I only know how to tie a bow or a dead knot, Jing Yunzhao said. Li Xiaoyun put on a fake smile. The scarf you threw away before was put on by me, right? At that time, this young master was shivering from the cold, but seeing that your neck was exposed, ah Zhao, it was cold, so I specially gave it to you. Who would have thought that in the end? Okay, I got it. Lower your head. Jing Yunzhao rolled his eyes. He had never seen such a calculative man. Back then, she had only used the scarf as a temporary weapon. How could he remember it for so long? Li Xiaoyun smiled and lowered his head secretly. He was very cooperative. Don't tie it to a dead knot or a butterfly knot. Just put in more effort, noisy. Jing Yunzhao had never worn a scarf in her 2 lifetimes. To her, no matter how cheap a scarf was, it was not as practical as a full meal. When it was cold, she could jump to warm herself up. However, the stomach was different. If there was nothing to eat, it would be very uncomfortable for the whole day. Therefore, she was very resistant to the cold, even more so after practicing martial arts. She could survive the coldest winter with an ordinary undershirt and a simple down jacket, unlike others who would shrink their heads and shiver. Because of this, people had even said that she was a cold-blooded animal. Li Xiaoyun lowered his head and leaned on her shoulder. His voice drifted by her ear, and the heat made her ears turn red. He was on the tall side. Even Jing Yunzhao, a tall girl, had to tiptoe to tidy him up until he was satisfied. It took her about 2 minutes or so. By the time Li Xiaoyun stood up straight and shrunk his head back, Jing Yunzhao's ears were both bright red, making her look especially cute. However, her face was cold and cheerless, giving off a sense of cuteness that made Du Lin dumbfounded. Li Xiaoyun smiled with satisfaction. He reached out and took out a pure white furry scarf from the car and wrapped it around Jing Yunzhao's neck again. Seeing that you are sincere enough, I'll forget about the previous one. But this is my return gift. Before the temperature rises, you can't leave it. Oh right, I forgot to tell you that the previous one was custom-made from D country. There is only one in the whole world, so it's useless even if you want to use other methods to repay me. And good Zhao, don't you still owe me a favor? Chapter 465. Feeling the sudden warmth, Jing Yunzhao subconsciously shrank her neck. Although Li Xiaoyun's words were a bit annoying, the scarf was furry and very comfortable. Du Lin was speechless. He had known Li Xiaoyun for so many years, why hadn't he given him a gift in return? Also, was he trying to save face to suffer? He obviously wanted to please Jing Yunzhao, but he had to pretend to be a threat. It was simply childish. Jing Yunzhao wasn't a fool. Naturally, she knew that Li Xiaoyun had good intentions. You're not really going to wear this scarf outside, are you? Jing Yunzhao was still a bit embarrassed and asked. Li Xiaoyun raised his eyebrows. Can't I? Jing Yunzhao silently lowered her head. If she had known that Li Xiaoyun would really wear it, she would have put in more effort to knit another one that was presentable. But now, looking at Li Xiaoyun, she felt that he was wearing a long kelp around his neck. It was neither fish nor fowl. However, Li Xiaoyun's body was very good, and his appearance was even more outstanding. Even if he wore the kelp, he would still look like a big shot. Forget it. Since he was willing, there was nothing for her to worry about. Li Xiaoyun, when are you going to return to the capital? Jing Yunzhao changed the topic and asked. Li Xiaoyun lowered his eyebrows and looked at her. His eyes drifted. Guess. After that, he pulled her into the car. Let's go. I'll take you for a ride. Jing Yunzhao was pushed into the back seat by him. Then Li Xiaoyun got in and sat directly beside him. Du Lin saw this and knew that he was going to be the driver today. He looked at Li Xiaoyun speechlessly and was full of resentment. However, when he thought of Jing Yunzhao's age, Du Lin comforted himself. If young Master Li had really taken a liking to Jing Yunzhao, then it would be impossible for him to succeed in a short period of time. Even if Jing Yunzhao fell in love with him, in some aspects, young Master Li would still have to endure for at least 2 to 3 years, right? If he ate her up as soon as he got what he wanted, that would be too much of a beast. Du Lin imagined the scene of Li Xiaoyun, a young man full of anger, and laughed evilly. However, after laughing, he felt a cold gaze behind him and immediately shivered. Young Master Li, where are you going? To Serene City, Li Xiaoyun said directly. Ah. Why didn't you say so earlier? If I go now, I'm afraid I won't be able to come back tonight. Is Yunzhao all right? Du Lin asked. Young Master Li was not like this in the past. Every time he returned to Huaning County, he rarely left the Tianxiang brothel. Every time he visited the tombs, he would return to the capital not long after. But ever since he met Jing Yunzhao, things had changed. Why are we going to Serene City? Jing Yunzhao was also somewhat puzzled. I have a friend who opened a private club in Serene City. I'll bring you there to take a look. Li Xiaoyun's voice was slightly cold, which made Jing Yunzhao feel even more strange. Friends. Why did she feel that Li Xiaoyun's expression was somewhat dangerous when he mentioned this word? Jing Yunzhao was confused, but she did not open her mouth to ask. She often went to Serene City, so she did not feel that there was anything wrong with it. Moreover, the winter vacation was not long. Once the festive atmosphere was over, she would have to speed up her studies. Du Lin's driving skills were excellent, and the speed was very fast. They arrived at their destination in about 2 hours. Jing Yunzhao read books all the way. The car was extremely quiet, and Li Xiaoyun did not disturb her. The three of them first found a hotel to check in. When night fell, they drove to the club. This is the place. It's quite luxurious, and the business seems to be good. Du Lin muttered. Li Xiaoyun had already brought Jing Yunzhao out of the car and walked towards the entrance. Chapter 466. In front of them was a tall building with a fountain and a flower bed in front of it. Around it were some commercial buildings or office buildings, full of a serious atmosphere. If it was during the day, outsiders might think that this place was ordinary, but now it was night. The whole building was covered with orange light, which was particularly eye-catching in the dark. At the entrance of the building, one could see the luxurious decoration. The outer wall followed the design of an ancient castle, with stained glass inlaid on both sides. Under the shining light, it was particularly bright. This clubhouse was called Imperial Pleasure Royal Court, a domineering and eye-catching name. Du Lin stopped the car and hurriedly caught up with Jing Yunzhao's group, walking inside. As soon as they entered the clubhouse, Jing Yunzhao was surprised. Previously, when she was invited by Hong Wen, she also went to a private entertainment clubhouse, but compared to this one, it was completely different. The hall was golden, crystal lights were like the moon, and 2 rows of men and women stood there to welcome the guests. All of them were handsome and beautiful, very eye-catching. As soon as the 3 of them entered, someone immediately came forward to greet them. "Hello, do you have an appointment?" "Ninth floor," Li Xiaoyun said simply. Hearing this, the other party didn't need Li Xiaoyun to explain and said, "Please come with me." Jing Yunzhao was more and more confused, but with Li Xiaoyun, she wasn't worried. They entered the elevator and went directly to the 9th floor. After going in, Jing Yunzhao more or less understood. The top floor of the clubhouse was not small, and the atmosphere was similar to a bar, but very different. There was a dance floor and wine, surrounded by gauze curtains and high glass walls. Standing at the window, one could see the surrounding scenery. Li Xiaoyun took Jing Yunzhao and Du Lin to find a place to sit down, and then he explained, "This Imperial Pleasure Royal Court is not very clean. There are about 4,000 to 5,000 people in the public relations department. There are all kinds of people, all kinds of appearances, and everything. The lower floors are designed with private rooms and halls. A trip here costs at least 5,000 yuan. According to estimates, the boss's annual income is not less than 200 million. Not clean, right?" Du Lin couldn't help but ask. "Can it be clean?" Li Xiaoyun smiled, crossed his legs, leaned on the sofa, and ordered a few bottles of good wine and a fruit plate. Jing Yunzhao couldn't understand why Li Xiaoyun brought her here. It couldn't be just to see how others made money, right? In a place like this, most of the women here had to sell their bodies. She was not interested. There was even some disgust. "Ah, Zhao, don't be angry yet. Look at who that person is." Li Xiaoyun saw Jing Yunzhao's ugly expression and pointed at the person who was in the arms of a woman in the distance. Jing Yunzhao frowned and followed his gaze. He instantly saw young Master Meng. Du Lin pursed his lips. Could the friend he was talking about be Meng Lin? No wonder the word "friend" sounded so murderous. Was Li Xiaoyun here to cause trouble? Meng Lin. Does he have a share here? Jing Yunzhao was smart enough to ask. That's right. This clubhouse is a joint venture between Meng Lin and a few of his friends. They'll pay for it and Meng Lin will take the shares. As long as he can ensure the safety of this clubhouse, it's fine, Li Xiaoyun said. Jing Yunzhao was surprised. Then it was no wonder. This clubhouse was located in a bustling area of Serene City. From the outside, it looked similar to other clubhouses. However, upon entering the 9th floor, one would discover that the difference was huge. Simply put, the transactions between men and women here were somewhat brazen. Even an open hall like the 9th floor was like this, not to mention the private rooms below. If there was no identity like Meng Lin to protect them, how could they be so rampant? Chapter 467. Jing Yunzhao was very disgusted with Meng Lin. Firstly, she hated this kind of pestering and self-righteous young master. Secondly, he had threatened her time and time again. You want to find trouble with Meng Lin? Can you do it? I heard that Meng Lin's deceased father had a wide network of connections. His uncle is also the boss of Ning City. Jing Yunzhao said with some concern. If it weren't for this layer of relationship, she would have already crippled Meng Lin. Living in this world, sometimes people have to bow their heads. Even if she didn't want to, she had to take a step back and wait for an opportunity to act. If she bravely went forward regardless of everything, she might win sometimes, but there was also a chance that she would break her head and bleed. Therefore, although she had sternly rejected Meng Lin, she didn't go too far. She had to think of a countermeasure before she could act. Moreover, she had already asked Pak Yuan to hire people to investigate everyone in the Meng family, big or small. However, Jing Yunzhao had only ordered Pak Yuan a few days ago. How could they get to Meng Lin's Meng family so quickly? Two handsome men, I am Sister Yun. Do you need the services of a beauty? Just as Jing Yunzhao finished speaking, a flirtatious woman walked over. She looked to be around 30 years old, but her tacky appearance made her seem like an ancient brothel keeper. Beside her stood two beautiful ladies. One was enchanting and charming, while the other was pure and moving. The two women looked at Li Xiaoyun at almost the same time. One kept giving him flirtatious looks, while the other lowered her head shyly. Jing Yunzhao's mouth suddenly moved, and she smiled. Li Xiaoyun's temperament was somewhat like a big boss in a dark nightclub. If there were several women around him, the scene would definitely be very beautiful. Get lost. Li Xiaoyun's face suddenly became ugly. Handsome, don't be angry. Are you looking down on these two? Our imperial city has many beautiful women. I don't know what you like. Cute, virtuous, or intellectual? Sister Yun smiled, not at all embarrassed. As the other party spoke, he looked at Jing Yunzhao. Seeing her outstanding appearance and different temperament, he knew that she must be some family's young miss. In this kind of situation, a woman who was too enchanting and in the limelight would not be liked. How about this, I'll let Xiao Qing accompany the two of you. She graduated from a prestigious university, and today is the first time she's appearing in public. He pushed the girl who looked very innocent over. Most of the people in this clubhouse were businessmen who were discussing business. It was easy to be impulsive under the influence of alcohol and women. However, there were also some rich young masters or daughters who brought people to have fun. Although Jing Yunzhao was a girl, that woman would not be stupid enough to compare her with the women here. Otherwise, she would definitely offend people. A trace of panic flashed across the face of the girl who was pushed over. She clenched her fists, took a deep breath, smiled, and walked to Jing Yunzhao's side. Little girl, can I sit with you for a while? Compared to the other guests in the club, the three in front of him were clearly different. Especially the two men. They did not have wretched eyes like the others. Moreover, they looked good. They shouldn't be bad people. Jing Yunzhao raised her eyebrows. Although she was speaking politely, her expression was looking at Li Xiaoyun. She could not help but smile. Li Xiaoyun, this was not directed at her. She did not have the leisure to sit and chat with strangers. Li Xiaoyun did not look carefully at the girl called Xiao Qing. He said directly, take her away. Don't disturb us. Chapter 468. Hearing those words, the other party was taken aback. Sister Yun instantly understood. Not all the men and women who came here required special treatment. Some of them would put on an act of rejecting the offer on their first visit. Then, she would push the offer for a bit longer. However, if the other party were to reject the offer, she would not pester them. Thus, Sister Yun quickly called Xiaoqing back. If that is the case, we will not disturb the three of you any further. If the three of you have any requests, please do not hesitate to ask the waiter. After saying that, she gave the three of them a courteous smile before dragging the two women away. Sister Yun, that man is so handsome, said the enchanting woman beside Sister Yun as she ran her fingers through her hair. Yes, he is handsome. However, you cannot judge a book by its cover. He may look like a playboy, but that may not be the case. Tell the sisters to behave yourselves. Do not pounce on any men you see. Otherwise, I will deduct your wages. Also, Xiaoqing, Mei, go to the table over there, said Sister Yun. She had seen many men in her life. Some of them were well-dressed, but the moment they laid eyes on women, they would turn into wolves and tigers. However, there were also some who were not interested in beauty at all. The two men from earlier were particularly handsome and exuded an extraordinary aura. It was likely that their identities were not simple. There was no need to mention the way they dressed. Their eyes exuded a cold and distant aura. They appeared to be 30% gentlemanly and 70% casual. However, they were definitely very strict people. The two women she brought with her could be considered to be above average in terms of looks within the clubhouse. However, the two men did not even spare them a glance. Clearly, they were not interested in women. Sister Yun, that table, that man. I don't want him, said Xiaoqing, feeling wronged. There were 4 to 5 men at the table over there. They were all older, in their 30s or 40s. They did not have good looks and had beer bellies. One glance was all it took to tell that they were not good people. When she said that, Mei rolled her eyes and smiled. Big sister, do you think you are a queen? You think you can pick men? Please think carefully. We are the ones who will be picked. She despised women like her the most. When they came to this clubhouse for the interview, did they not know what kind of job they would be doing in the future? Why are they pretending to be pure now? Xiaoqing looked aggrieved. Sister Yun frowned. She was also somewhat displeased. If you don't want to do it, you can leave now. But don't forget, you have signed a contract with Dixiang. The clothes you are wearing, the cosmetics on your face, everything is provided by us. If you want to leave now, you will not be able to escape the 500,000 yuan penalty. The income of the women here was not low. Most of them earned more than 100,000 yuan a month. Of course, although the income was not small, the expenses were also high. In the beginning, they would cover their clothes and cosmetics, but after a month, they would have to rely on their own ability to buy them. The more beautiful and tasteful a person was, the more popular they would be. When Xiaoqing heard this, tears welled up in her eyes. She couldn't help but turn to look in the direction of Li Xiaoyun and Jing Yunzhao. She lowered her head in grievance and walked over with small steps. Young Master Li is so charming. Jing Yunzhao smiled and took a sip of wine. But you brought me here just to see how Meng Lin's business is doing. Of course not. I brought you here, to watch a show. Li Xiaoyun smiled mysteriously. The next moment, he reached for the dice on the table and said, wait, within an hour. Jing Yunzhao's eyes lit up. He was extremely curious. Chapter 469. Jing Yunzhao didn't know what Li Xiaoyun wanted to do, but since she was already here, she wasn't in a hurry. The three of them played dice for fun. But less than 10 minutes later, they heard a commotion from the table next to them. The girl from before had tears on her face as she was being dragged by a man. She seemed to be very resistant. Du Lin frowned. Aren't you going to help? This girl seems to be quite pure. Li Xiaoyun curled his lips and snorted. Jing Yunzhao pursed her lips and smiled. Why? Don't you think so? When Sister Yun brought this girl over, I saw that her face was as red as a lobster. She seemed quite pitiful. Du Lin added. That girl was petite and looked very cute. Although he wasn't interested, it didn't seem good to watch a girl being forced on by a man, right? But he could understand Li Xiaoyun's reaction because he was a person who didn't care. But Jing Yunzhao, seeing Du Lin's suspicious gaze, Jing Yunzhao said, Brother Du, if you want to save her, I won't object. But first, you have to prepare enough money and be prepared to be blamed. Why do you say that? Such an obedient girl. Du Lin was speechless. Was everyone in the world a bad person? She is quite obedient, but would an obedient person come here? You can say that she came from a poor family and had nowhere to go, but I feel that no matter what, she should have dignity as a person. Poverty might just be an excuse to fall. Jing Yunzhao said, since she chose to come here, she should have the courage to take responsibility. Also, she doesn't reject the touch of any man, but that kind of man. If it were you or Li Xiaoyun, I think she would use her fluttering heart as a foil. This was Ning's city, one of the most prosperous cities. There were countless jobs and opportunities. This Sister Yun said that she came from a famous university, and she looked like it. She had the aura of a scholar. But since that was the case, she should be someone with brains. Could it be that she couldn't find another job or couldn't think of what she had to face? If she thought that it was just drinking and chatting, Jing Yunzhao wouldn't believe it even if he was beaten to death. There were also ladies here who were only in charge of drinking. It was impossible for them not to know when they applied for the job. When Du Lin heard this, he choked and was speechless. Yunzhao, I've realized that you're a little too calm. You're always analyzing and thinking. You're not like a little girl at all. Du Lin was a little speechless. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm not the brainless female lead of a romantic drama who wants to rush over and save anyone who's suffering. People should act according to their abilities. Things should be seen through first, Jing Yunzhao said slowly. Du Lin rolled his eyes. Jing Yunzhao was especially thin. Her entire body was sunk into the sofa. Because of the difference in temperature between the room and the outside, her face was slightly red. Her skin was very good, but there was a hint of immaturity. The way she sat there motionlessly and hugged her drink made her look like a kitten. She was cool and cute, but when she opened her mouth, she always said such sarcastic words that made people speechless. And Li Xiaoyun, Du Lin finally knew why the two of them could always get along. They were exactly the same kind of people. However, Du Lin wasn't an impulsive hero. After interacting with Li Xiaoyun for so many years, he had more or less a subtle influence. Therefore, when Jing Yunzhao said that, he didn't have any thoughts of being a hero saving the damsel in distress. It was just that the three of them didn't make a move, but someone else took the initiative to approach. Chapter 470. Under the ambiguous light, the woman splashed wine on the face of one of the men at the table. She caught the man off guard and hurriedly ran towards Jing Yunzhao. Her target was clear, and her movements were nimble. In the next moment, she directly pounced on Li Xiaoyun. Li Xiaoyun leaned to one side, not a single leaf on his body, and leaned towards Jing Yunzhao. The woman was stunned, but her small face was soon covered in tears. She felt extremely wronged and said, "Sir, please help me." She looked delicate and pitiful, and her attitude was humble and polite. She said again, "Sir, I beg you." Help me once, help me once. Miss, I think you'd better. Du Lin was just about to ask her to leave when he saw the girl sobbing. Why are you like this? I don't want to lose my chastity. You stinky men only know how to seek pleasure. You don't even think about how hard it is for us women. Du Lin's mouth twitched. Was this woman all right? How could they be making merry? Furthermore, although this woman looked especially young and beautiful, and could even be said to be cute, she was still 22 or 23 years old, right? She was already an adult. Was it really good to act cute like this? Jing Yunzhao was a few years younger than her, but she had never seen Jing Yunzhao acting coquettishly. The men at the table next to them also chased over. They were clearly stunned by Li Xiaoyun's aura and were also somewhat cautious. Sir, I'm sorry, this lady is from our table, then quickly take her away, Du Lin hurriedly said. He did have some sympathy for this woman, but now that he saw her reaction, he felt a little disgusted. If she really didn't want to do it, why didn't she resist earlier? Why did she have to wait until someone touched and kissed her before she regretted it? And even if she regretted it, she shouldn't look for them, right? After all, they were also customers. If they took her from the other party, they would also have to spend money, and she would still have to accompany them. The only difference was that young Master Li was good-looking and looked like a rich young master. The man on the other side also heaved a sigh of relief and went forward to pull Xiaoqing away. They were also furious. The wine here was very expensive. They specially set up a table to entertain customers. The other ladies were performing well, but this woman suddenly went crazy and splashed red wine all over the customer. She was simply unreasonable. He still had to make her apologize to the client later. When Xiaoqing saw this, she was dumbfounded. Why didn't they stop him? Couldn't he tell that she was different from other women? I'm not going. Handsome guys, I'm not a young lady here. This is really my first time experiencing something like this. Can you please help me? I don't want to be a lost girl. Handsome guys, I beg you. Xiaoqing hurriedly said to Li Xiaoyun and Du Lin. Jing Yunzhao hugged the drink tightly and took a big gulp, pretending not to see it. Her reaction was indeed a little heartless. After all, if she could save this woman, it would also be a merit. However, she still felt that it was unnecessary. Reality was not a predetermined plot. Not to mention romance novels, not everyone met a tall, powerful, handsome, and rich male protagonist when they fell. The hero saved the damsel in distress, promised to marry him, helped each other in times of need, and lived happily ever after. How is that possible? Jing Yunzhao didn't say anything and remained silent. She just sat there quietly and didn't attract any criticism. Li Xiaoyun was obviously annoyed by this woman's noise. He raised his hand and the waiter not far away immediately ran over. Sir. Drag this ugly woman away. I don't want to see her appear in my sight again. Li Xiaoyun said coldly. Chapter 471. Li Xiaoyun's voice was cold and contained a sense of deterrence. Hearing that, the waiter quickly called for 2 other people to bring the woman away. Seeing that, Sister Yun quickly walked over as well. Xiaoqing. Sister Yun, this woman poured red wine on a customer. What do you think we should do? The customer who was originally seated at the table was also dissatisfied. They were here to have fun, not to cause trouble. Even if they brought this woman back, she might not apologize. Instead, it would be troublesome. Sister Yun also understood the situation and quickly said, I am sorry. How about this? I will invite 2 more beautiful ladies over. I will give you a 30% discount on the drinks at your table. What do you think? The customer did not want to cause trouble. Forget it. Just treat it as my bad luck. After saying that, he ignored Xiaoqing and angrily returned to his seat. After the customer left, Sister Yun looked at Xiaoqing with an ugly expression. Hurry up and bring her away. Several waiters quickly nodded and stepped forward to pull the cart. Seeing that, Xiaoqing knew that she was done for today. She panicked and quickly cried. Mister! Can you help me? Li Xiaoyun frowned in disgust. Xiaoqing panicked. She had been a good girl since she was young. Her appearance was also very likable. No matter where she went, she would be the center of attention. However, despite her good looks, she had a bad life. Her parents were not around and she was placed in the care of her aunt. She also had to support her two younger brothers. However, after signing the contract, she regretted it. The women here were all dressed to the nines. In order to make the customers happy, they would do everything in their power. More importantly, the customers were disgusting. Although she had a boyfriend, their relationship was very pure. They had never been so open. How could she accept it? Seeing that Li Xiaoyun was ignoring her, Xiaoqing felt as if the sky had darkened and the earth had darkened. She was so scared that her whole body was trembling. In the next second, she saw the silent Jing Yunzhao and hurriedly said, "Little sister. Can you help me persuade your brother? I am really different from the women here. Even if I die, I will not let other men touch me. Besides, I have a boyfriend." Really? Hearing that, Jing Yunzhao's face changed. She felt that her worldview was about to be distorted. So what if she didn't allow anyone to touch her and had a boyfriend? What did it have to do with her? And since she already had a boyfriend, why did she still come? From the looks of it, she must have hidden something from the other party before coming here, right? Can't the two of them discuss such an important matter? Sorry, I don't like to meddle in other people's business, Jing Yunzhao said lightly. When the other party heard this, her cute face cracked. She immediately pointed at Jing Yunzhao and said, "Little girl, how can you do this? Why don't you help me? To think that I thought you were a good person." In the next second, she stared at Li Xiaoyun and began to cry again, "You well-dressed beast. You clearly know that I won't have a good ending if I'm captured, but you still don't care about me. Fine, then let me die. I won't let you off even if I become a ghost. From now on, I'll go to your bedside every day to keep an eye on you so that you won't be able to get close to women for the rest of your life." Woo-woo. Jing Yunzhao's mouth twitched. She licked her lips. "Are you sure you are not deliberately trying to attract Li Xiaoyun's attention?" Sister Yun frowned in anger. However, due to the large number of guests present, she did not want to cause too much of a ruckus. Li Xiaoyun looked at Jing Yunzhao and straightened his body. There was a faint smile on his face and his eyes were deep. "How do you want me to help you?" Chapter 472. Hearing Li Xiaoyun's words, Xiaoqing was taken aback. Then, she sobbed and said, I can accompany you to drink." Jing Yunzhao smiled inwardly. Accompanying him to drink is the first step, right? Then what? Take the opportunity to develop some feelings. Or perhaps, like those romance novels that Suchu often read, she would bicker with Li Xiaoyun, making him unable to forget her. Then, he would pull her out of the fire pit. If she had just met Li Xiaoyun, she might have believed that he was a womanizer who would do something like that. Now, however, she could at least guarantee that he was not someone who would take a liking to just any woman. "If that is the case, you can stay." A few seconds later, Li Xiaoyun suddenly spoke up. After saying that, Sister Yun was taken aback. However, she squeezed out a smile and said, "I am very sorry. Just consider these bottles of wine as my treat." After saying that, she breathed a sigh of relief and walked out. Xiaoqing's actions were against the rules. However, if she could pull in a big customer because of this, she would be lucky. After Sister Yun left with the waiters, Xiaoqing breathed a sigh of relief. She awkwardly got up from the ground. Without needing Li Xiaoyun to call her over, she moved to sit between him and Jing Yunzhao. However, before she could sit down, Li Xiaoyun said, "Who allowed you to sit here?" Xiaoqing was taken aback. She felt even more wronged. "If you don't want to sit, then so be it. Don't think that I will forgive you just because you asked me to stay. You stubborn stinking man." Xiaoqing immediately scolded him. Rather than scolding, it would be more accurate to say that she was rebuking him. She spoke with a childish tone, making her look very cute. Jing Yunzhao was speechless. Did she think that the world revolved around her? After saying that, the woman turned and sat down beside Du Lin. In the blink of an eye, she became even more bashful and bashful. "Thank you." Du Lin's hand froze and he secretly shook his head. This woman was no fool. However, the way she acted made it seem as though she was ignorant and fearless. Earlier, she was the one who kept pestering Li Xiaoyun. After Li Xiaoyun spoke up, instead of thanking him, she opened her mouth to cause trouble. Not only that, she even thanked him. She was probably doing this on purpose to make Li Xiaoyun unhappy and angry so that he would notice her. Du Lin rubbed his eyebrows. No wonder Jing Yunzhao didn't let him help just now. But it was also strange. Why did young Master Li change his mind? He didn't seem like such a fickle person. Since you're a hostess, you should act like one. Here's what's on the table. Drink up, Li Xiaoyun said without even raising his head. When the girl heard this, she pouted. It's not a big deal. Let's drink. If you have the ability, why don't you compete with me? Jing Yunzhao sneered. She had taken the initiative to say that she wanted to drink with him, but now he was acting so arrogant and wanted to compete with her alcohol tolerance. Was she worthy? Li Xiaoyun ignored her words. He peeled an apple for Jing Yunzhao and handed it over. His gentle gaze startled Xiaoqing. So this stinky man had a gentle side to him. But was his sister the only one who was human? She didn't even care about other people's dignity. No wonder she would spoil such a bad-hearted girl. I'm talking to you. Xiaoqing pouted and said again. She wasn't that old. When she was cute, she was indeed very eye-catching. However, at this moment, Jing Yunzhao, this young girl, was present. Her attitude seemed to be taking advantage of her seniority. Du Lin had a good relationship with Li Xiaoyun, so he understood what he meant. He also teased this woman a little more. He reached out and placed a bottle of wine in front of her. Please. Chapter 473. A bottle of wine with over 50% alcohol, no matter how good it tasted, she probably wouldn't be able to tell the directions after drinking it. Xiaoqing was stunned. I'm not drinking. Miss, don't you know who you are? Weren't you the one who offered to drink with him? Of course, we're all civilized people and won't force you, but I believe that Sister Yun will be happy to teach you, Du Lin said directly. Du Lin looked like a gentle big brother next door, so when Xiaoqing stayed behind, she approached Du Lin with a friendly attitude. But sometimes, one's appearance might not be the same as one's heart. Du Lin was indeed generous and polite, but he was also someone who had interacted with Li Xiaoyun for a few years. If he was a kind person who liked to meddle in other people's business, Li Xiaoyun would have been unwilling to talk to him. Birds of a feather flocked together. Du Lin had at least some basic understanding. Li Xiaoyun wouldn't act like a domineering CEO with this girl. He thought about it carefully. The reason why he kept her was probably not to help, but because she said that Li Xiaoyun and Jing Yunzhao were siblings. So he wasn't too happy. He was very clear about Li Xiaoyun's intentions. When Du Lin said that, Xiaoqing's face turned pale. She bit her lip and showed an aggrieved look. Fine, I'll drink. The next second, she picked up the bottle and stuffed it into her mouth. But the alcohol was so strong that it made her face turn red. However, Xiaoqing showed a strong and courageous look, refusing to admit defeat. Her eyes were red as she continued to drink. She looked like a pitiful person who was forced into a helpless situation. It made the three of them look like they were forcing a good girl into prostitution. Unfortunately, Li Xiaoyun didn't even look at her after she drank the wine. The way she stood up unsteadily and continued to drink attracted quite a few people's attention. Meng Lin, who wasn't far away, had also noticed it. He took a closer look and saw Jing Yunzhao's cold and cheerless face. He immediately pushed the woman beside him aside and walked over. Miss Jing, Meng Lin called out. But when he saw Li Xiaoyun, Meng Lin's face darkened and his mouth twitched. Previously, this man had hit his head with a firework, causing him to have a concussion and stay in the hospital for a few days. He had yet to settle the score with him. These days, he had asked someone to investigate the man's identity, but after all, he had only met him on the road. He didn't even know the man's name, so naturally, he knew nothing. Now that he had met him, he must find out where this jinx came from. How dare he lay his hands on young Master Meng? Li Xiaoyun glanced at him. Young Master Meng, is it? Could you please move away a little? The air is not so good. Brat, it's just some martial arts. What kind of skill is that? Meng Lin gritted his teeth and said, a chance meeting is better than an invitation. Since we've met here, why don't we have a good chat? Jing Yunzhao, don't you like this man because he's rich? Let me tell you, no one has ever dared to compete with me, young Master Meng. Aren't you just trying to whet my appetite? Alright, I'll tell you. You've succeeded. Are you satisfied? Meng Lin asked again. As soon as he finished speaking, Xiaoqing wobbled and pointed at Jing Yunzhao. Ha! Aren't you brother and sister? All right. Are you forcing yourself on a minor? Xiaoqing immediately glared at him. She raised her leg to pull Jing Yunzhao away and said, little girl, don't be afraid. We'll call the police and send this stinky man to prison. Chapter 474. Xiaoqing's angry roar shocked many people around her. Even Meng Lin's mouth twitched. He couldn't understand. Was there something wrong with this woman's brain? Call the police. What did she think this place was? The corner of Jing Yunzhao's mouth twitched as she unceremoniously pulled her arm back and dusted it off before saying, Miss, first of all, I wasn't forced by anyone, and I'm not afraid. Also, the stinky man you're talking about is my friend. He didn't do anything to let you down, and he even saved you from that Sister Yun's hands just now. So, I'll have to trouble you to clean your mouth a bit. As a person, you should have your own responsibilities. If you really have as much self-respect as you appear to have, then I'll respect you. Some men and women were indeed forced to do this, but at least they knew their place and didn't find excuses for themselves. However, this woman in front of him blamed her choice on others. She thought she was different. What was different about her? If there was a difference, it was that she was more ambitious and found a better advantage. For example, if she could capture the heart of a man with enough weight, she would be completely reborn. It was better to rely on oneself than on heaven and earth. How could she look up to someone who had the ability and capital but insisted on taking shortcuts? After Jing Yunzhao finished speaking, Xiaoqing's body swayed. She looked wronged. How can you say that about me? How am I inferior to them? I graduated from a famous university. If I was given a chance, I could make a name for myself. They only rely on their beauty and bodies. It's different. Jing Yunzhao suddenly smiled. This smile was as light as the wind, but it was slightly cold. Famous university. They didn't teach you to come to such a place when you have no other choice, did they? Also, looking at you, I don't think you've even done something like a part-time job when you were in school. Did you waste all your time on dating? Jing Yunzhao suddenly laughed and asked. If she was a person who worked part-time when she was in school, she would have known that she couldn't offend others after graduation. Work was the best way to hone a person's edge. For someone like Xiaoqing, no matter what she did, the boss might not like her. She thought that she was bright and righteous and would interfere in everything. She used her good looks to cause trouble everywhere. Wouldn't the boss be furious to meet such an employee? Besides, her hands were clean, her posture was unruly, and her eyes were unruly. It was obvious that she had not undergone any work training. Xiaoqing's face flushed red. Her lips were red, and she was beautiful. Her eyelashes fluttered like butterflies, and she revealed an innocent look. Her mouth moved as she said, You little sister, you're too evil. I wanted to help you, so why are you making things difficult for me? After saying that, she looked helplessly at the three men around her. Meng Lin was a little surprised for a moment. Was this a woman from his imperial court? The corner of his mouth twitched. He had to admit that she was beautiful, but she was a little brainless. However, she was his woman after all, Meng Lin snorted. Miss Jing, you're quite generous. You even accompanied this gentleman to socialize. But last time we met, we didn't have time to get to know each other. May I know his name? Meng Lin's attitude was arrogant. As he spoke, he took Xiaoqing and pinched her face. The two gentlemen have good taste. This girl is fair and beautiful. But Miss Jing, I can guarantee that if you were with me, I wouldn't find other women to embarrass you. Chapter 475. Xiaoqing was instantly enraged by his embrace. What are you doing? Don't touch me. Jing Yunzhao was instantly amused. Meng Lin gritted his teeth. Jing Yunzhao and this brainless woman were polar opposites. How could such a stupid woman be worthy of working for him? He really didn't know which idiot signed her. Li Xiaoyun's expression was somewhat playful. My surname is Li. This surname was not common. Meng Lin was annoyed by his attitude, but at least he was not ignorant now. He lifted his leg and sat on the sofa next to him. He glanced at the dice on the table. Where are you from, Mr. Li? The capital. That's right. Li Xiaoyun was very magnanimous. Meng Lin snorted. No wonder. If he was from Serene City, wouldn't he be scared to the point of kneeling and begging for mercy? How would he dare to pester the woman he liked? But so what if he was from the capital? The Meng family knew many people. Even if he was from the capital, as long as he wanted to, he could still make him disappear completely from this world. How about a bet? Meng Lin was patient. He paused, pointed at Jing Yunzhao and Xiaoqing, and said, Let's bet on them. If I win, you give Jing Yunzhao to me and stay far away from her. If you win, I'll give Xiaoqing to you. You can do whatever you want with her. How about it? Meng Lin added. A trace of killing intent flashed in Li Xiaoyun's eyes. He snorted and said coldly, How can a shameless woman be compared to her? If you want to bet, you can bet on yourself. If you lose, you'll lose an arm. Li Xiaoyun added. When Meng Lin heard this, he was a little angry. You said it. Let's have 5 rounds. If you lose all of them, I'll break your limbs and make you unable to be a man. Meng Lin grew up at the gambling table. If he dared to say he was second, no one dared to say they were first in front of him. This Li guy wanted to beat him. Dream on. I hope you can do it. Li Xiaoyun's mood was inexplicably good. After he finished speaking, Meng Lin asked someone to tidy up the table. Xiao Qing, who was beside him, was still somewhat muddle-headed and unable to understand the situation. Earlier, they had clearly said that they were going to use her as a bet. Why did they suddenly want to bet on her arm and leg? Looking at Jing Yunzhao, Xiao Qing bit her lip. What? Why couldn't she be compared to this little girl? Jing Yunzhao had some understanding of Li Xiaoyun's gambling skills. Before Meng Lin and Xiao Qing arrived, the three of them had played for a while. She and Li Xiaoyun had not made any mistakes, so after playing for a while, they felt a little bored. It was not that they were born with amazing gambling skills, but after practicing martial arts, their hearing was better than that of ordinary people. This wasn't a casino, so there weren't so many fancy gambling methods. It was just a matter of whether it was big or small. No matter how experienced Meng Lin was, he was just an ordinary person. Moreover, in such a chaotic situation, the chances of him making a mistake were very high. Therefore, in her opinion, there was almost no comparison. What's more, even if Li Xiaoyun won, Meng Lin wouldn't admit defeat, right? At that time, it would be easy for them to escape with their numbers advantage. However, it was impossible for Li Xiaoyun not to know this. Since he still wanted to gamble, he should have his own reasons. While Jing Yunzhao was in a daze, the table in front of her had been cleaned up. Young Master Meng immediately said with confidence, "Let's do something simple. 2 beauties will shake the dice. Whoever guesses correctly will win." As soon as Meng Lin said this, Xiao Qing's eyes lit up. "Then I'll do it." After saying this, her little face turned red again. Jing Yunzhao shrugged, indicating that it didn't matter. Meng Lin frowned but didn't say much. Chapter 476. Meng Lin nodded in agreement. Xiao Qing immediately picked up the dice and shook it. Perhaps because she had drunk a lot of wine, she used a lot of strength. After a while, she stopped shaking. However, the moment she placed the dice on the table, she moved again. She squinted her eyes and revealed a cute smile. Meng Lin stared at her, and the disgust in his heart grew. He had tasted many women, and there were all kinds of them. This Xiao Qing had nowhere to hide in front of him. If it were any other time, he might have some patience to play with such a woman. However, after seeing Jing Yunzhao and looking at her, he did not have any thoughts. She looked innocent and ignorant, but she loved to show off. Her performance was a little too much. However, Xiao Qing did not realize it. After putting down the dice, she said sweetly, "Guess." "Stinky man, don't blame me for not helping you. I purposely got closer to you just now." She looked like she wanted to take credit. Jing Yunzhao frowned and said in disgust, "Don't try to be smart. Do it again. Get closer to Li Xiaoyun." Did she mean to cheat for Li Xiaoyun? She thought she was infallible. It was impossible for Li Xiaoyun to lose. However, if she behaved like this, Meng Lin would not admit defeat even if he lost. Why? Little girl, don't always find trouble with me, okay? I was doing fine, and I even helped that stinky man. Xiao Qing said again. The number of people Jing Yunzhao had met that she disliked wasn't few, but this Xiao Qing was still one of the best. He looked at her coldly, "Either do it again, or I'll call Sister Yun over to take you back. It's up to you." When Xiao Qing heard that, tears of grievance flashed in her eyes. "Okay. I know. Let's do it again. What's the big deal?" As she spoke, she picked up the dice cup again and shook it fiercely. Her mood wasn't good, so she used the dice to vent her anger. She looked as if she wanted to shatter the dice into pieces. After she was done, she even purposely made a face at Jing Yun Zhao. Jing Yun Zhao smacked her lips. This woman was so stupid that there was no cure for her. Did she think everyone was a fool? Would they be hit by her so-called cuteness and feel that she was special? Would they feel that she was unique? He was just walking further and further down the path of courting death. At this moment, Meng Lin's eyes were solemn. He wrote a number on the paper beside him. Li Xiaoyun finished slowly. In the next moment, Xiaoqing immediately took the paper from the two people. After opening it, she said, "Young Master Meng guessed 18 points, and the stinky man guessed 22 points. Who is right? Then, let me reveal the answer." After talking to himself for a while, he opened the lid. However, young Master Meng's face darkened the moment he saw it. He made a mistake. The main thing was that he didn't expect this Li guy to guess correctly. Logically speaking, even if he was wrong by 1 or 2 numbers, it shouldn't have affected him. Frowning, Li Xiaoyun rubbed his forehead and said, "Let's continue. Let's end this quickly." Meng Lin felt even more embarrassed. "I just made a mistake. I don't believe that you can win every time." As he spoke, the second round began. Li Xiaoyun looked lazy and didn't have much fighting spirit. On the other hand, Meng Lin was especially attentive because he lost the first round. However, when the numbers for the second round came out, he found that he was only off by 1 number, while Li Xiaoyun was exactly the same. He even wrote down the combination of numbers. "Damn woman. Did you do something to it?" Meng Lin suddenly slapped Xiaoqing shamelessly.